Welcome to the Cherry Picker, the horror movie podcast where we like to kill people, but not really. I'm your host, Zach Cherry. With me, as always, is.
When I told, oh, I'm English. When I told your stepmother she would make an excellent dinner, that was not a lie.
I, I love how Betty Davis is kind of creeping in there.
I know, I can't. We've been talking about her in the pre-record, and I can't
Betty
lose it.
Davis is the actual killer in Thanksgiving is the movie that we're talking
I'm
about.
John Carver. Here's how I did it.
Thanksgiving released November 17th, 2023.
It's 2 years old.
It's 2 years old. There's already a sequel in the works, which I guess will
My
be released
God.
this time next year.
Mm.
Yeah, but this is one that we decided thematically to cover since we're coming upon Thanksgiving, here, the
Yeah.
American Thanksgiving.
Yeah, the United States
Yeah,
thing that we've got that we deal with every year. Um,
Turkey
I,
Day.
I enjoy the turkeyness of it all. Like, I mean, even usually get together with my big extended family, but this year we're not going to be able to do that. So it's just going to be me and my sister, my brother-in-law, and my mom just hanging
Yeah.
out in that house. And yeah, I'm liking the spread so far, the projected spread,
Mm,
because that's the thing. It's all about the food and the family. That's what it's
yeah.
about. Neither of those are really in this movie.
So, I mean, yeah, we can get into that. I was gonna say, so like for Canada, our Thanksgiving is more so like in the beginning, middle-ish of October, like just whatever
Oh.
Monday it falls on. So yeah, it's always it always like creeps up and comes out of nowhere. And it's just like, oh, it's already Thanksgiving. But this past one, I got a there's this place right across from my gym that has like these really good poutines, and they've got like a
Ooh.
feature uh flavor. I should like a feature poutine every week. So during the week of Thanksgiving, they have a like a turkey dinner poutine.
Oh,
So I ended up
wow.
getting that and made myself really sick. Like not that it was bad tasting, but just like ate way too much food all at once because
Yeah, yeah.
my eyes were bigger than my stomach.
It's all
And
thin away.
yeah,
Yeah. Wait,
but
so do you celebrate being colonized like we do? Or like what is the
we just
event?
yeah, I have no idea. Don't ask me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
But
think
it's
it's more
just
just like it's just a like maybe a way to be inclusive about it.
okay.
Someone can look, I'm sure you can look it up on Google or
Sure.
Chat GPT or some, whatever you use. It's there. I don't know.
They should have made a
It's,
peanut special about that where Charlie Brown goes to Canada and learns about Canadian Thanksgiving.
I know about horror movies. I don't know about Thanksgiving.
Welcome to the History of Thanksgiving
Yeah.
International with Zach Cherry and Edward is Truth.
Hmm.
Yeah, we're not hosting that.
So I suppose like let's go back to the origins of this movie because this
Yeah.
originally started off
Oh,
as a like how would you describe it? Like a fake trailer, and they had
a
like a just
super fun mock trailer that
yeah.
was like cut interstitially throughout Grindhouse. I don't remember if it fell in between Planet Terror and Death Proof or where it
Yes.
was, but yeah.
Yeah.
And oh, super
There's a whole
fun.
yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. There was a Rob Zombie did one, Werewolf
Yeah,
Women of the SS.
yeah,
There was the Machete, the
yeah.
Robert Rodriguez one that did go on to be a feature
Machete.
with Danny Trejo, and then I think there was a sequel as well.
Right,
And then there was another one that Edgar Wright did called
right.
Don't, which I really liked because it was kind of a play up of European horror movies that are then given a North American distribution. So they like changed the title of the movie, and like the trailers cut together. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And I think they had Will Arnett doing the trailer narration for it.
Oh,
And it's just
so
a series of
good.
like, if you are thinking of going into this house, don't.
Yeah.
And then Thanksgiving was in there, and I remember Thanksgiving being kind of like the standout, the one that was sort
Mm.
of like placed above all the other ones that like Eli Roth had done, obviously. And that was the first like sort of musings of like, oh, this could actually be a movie because we don't
Hmm.
have, I mean, I don't really know what other Thanksgiving themed horror movies there are. I'm sure there's more at this point. Like, isn't there one called like Thanksgiving or
Don't watch that one.
okay. Well, regardless, it was,
Yes,
sort of like the idea was like, oh, you've got like Halloween with Michael Myers. Like, here's the Thanksgiving slasher. This needs
sure.
to be made into a movie. And I don't know what the interference was, like why it took 16 years.
Mm,
Because from what I remember, like at the time, there was a lot of forward momentum of getting that movie
hmm
made, and then it just sort of got shelved, like a lot of things
hmm
do. And it just seemed like it was never happening. And then, obviously it finally did happen 16 years later. So I don't know if you knew anything about
Absolutely not. But I mean, this is the thing, cards on the table. It was rough enough just kind of like getting through the screening of this film for the pod. So doing my research on like, where it came from. I did go back and watch the mock trailer again
yeah.
that was featured in Grindhouse, and oh my God, I had so much more fun watching that. And I know this is the usual kind of rhetoric that accompanies this
Mhm.
movie, but it's true. There's something so kind of like fun-loving, and I don't know, even just like down to the kind of VHS feel of like the Halloween 2-esque approach outside the home of the, woman in the kitchen, preparing her little Thanksgiving dinner and everything like that. Like it's just adorable, and there are things that happened in the trailer that certainly did happen again in the movie, but they didn't happen in the spirit that they did in the trailer, and that kind of broke my heart.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, I guess we're getting right into it.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna more like so segue of like where this started, but I guess before we do that, because we'll do the usual housekeeping, but
Yeah.
I think the thing that felt like a very strange creative direction for this feature is that Eli Roth did not make that movie of what that trailer was. And I mean, like, obviously there was you couldn't make that exact movie because you don't have the actors, or it was
Hmm.
16 years ago. Like, you have to change things.
Sure.
Um, but it sort of it's one of my biggest disappointments with this is that
Mm,
rather than try to emulate what that was and why people loved it so much, and what it could have been, it
yeah.
seemed like he made a remake of let's just say that Thanksgiving was a real movie, like the one that we saw the fake trailer for. That
Mm,
existed at one point. This feels like the remake of that. It has a very
yeah.
much like, My Bloody Valentine or Friday the 13th of like the 2000s, of just like, let's update this movie and like set it in this day and age. And
That,
that I find is like the thing that doesn't work about it for me.
that's a really succinct way of putting it, actually. I didn't think about it like that, but you're absolutely right. I mean, even down to a kind of and obviously not all remakes are like this, but there are enough that gets us not too excited when we hear that a remake is coming. It's like, all right, let's just see what you did. But there was a kind of soullessness for me to this one, whereas the other one felt largely kind of like celebratory in spirit. And I don't mean of the
Mhm.
holiday, I mean of the genre, of the slasher genre, of just kind of like
Yeah.
embracing and even mocking a bit like the ridiculousness, but it wasn't like looking down on it. It wasn't condescending. It was actually made, you could tell it was made by a horror fan. That's something I will always give Eli Roth. I know that he is a horror fan, and he has proven that
Mhm.
with his contribution to multiple documentaries celebrating the genre. So good for him for that. But as far as like as a filmmaker, it's always a give and take. There's always like some things that work and some things that make me never really get excited about seeing an Eli Roth movie, the next time it comes around. Doesn't mean I won't, because that's what we do. We take chances as horror
Mhm.
fans. But uh, yeah, and we could get into all that, but would we any housekeeping?
Well, I do want to add as well that I think that
Yeah.
a lot of that uh, idea of just like, maybe polishing it more for a modern day thing. Like, they could have been set in
Mm,
modern day, but like I think just like to kind of propel it into the now came from the idea that they wanted Black Friday to kind of be the impetus or just like the inciting event of just like how the thing gets kicked off of just sort of like
right.
this revenge plot. So I think from there it just sort of it just sort of like uh technologized. I don't even think that's a word, but just like, it's just like everything was just like, okay, now we're, because Black Friday was not really a thing up until, more recently, like what, like the past 20, 25 years, where it's
No,
just like,
it's well, I mean, 25 is probably closer, but I think it was
yeah.
around. I don't. I honestly don't
Not
remember.
not for like the trailer, but like at that time when because that was like 2007, 2008. But just I mean like the movie that had been created in the
Mm.
trailer was obviously supposed to be something older, from the 70s or 80s. So I'm just saying that
Right.
like that concept, like if he was going to make a movie that looked like it could have been, film stock, like used in the 80s or whatever, like
Yeah.
that idea of just like implementing Black Friday to it, like
Hmm.
might have, the creative process, he might have decided that doesn't fit in with everything, and we wanted to kind of make it a more modern day thing.
Which is ironic because, I mean, it's not like Black Friday isn't a thing anymore. Like sales happen, but predominantly they more and more with every year they seem to be happening on the internet. And there isn't. There are still people who show up early to buy things, but as far as I know, it's not
Yeah.
like the crazed masses causing like violent,
Yeah.
up what's the word I'm looking for? Like
Riots.
outcries,
Yeah.
battle cries,
Mhm.
the morning after Thanksgiving, like it was. I remember seeing news reports back in the 90s. I was less cognizant of that kind of thing in the 80s, so maybe it is a more recent thing. But I mean, 80s was all about consumerism, so maybe I just wasn't, you know, consuming.
Yeah. I
But
feel like we've also
because you
become
get
like less civilized as a society in a lot of ways.
sure, but
Um,
but even like the spirit, because I worked in retail since the lockdown in like 20, I think the last retail job I had was 2021 before that holiday season. And there were people there, but it wasn't like, people angrily, pawing at the ground outside of windows and then just tearing each other apart. It was much more just kind of like, because also it starts earlier now. Like so many places open
yeah.
on Thanksgiving
Well,
these
I mean, we
days.
don't have to talk about Black Friday in
Oh, okay.
particular here. I was just mentioning about how that kind of might have been the impetus to set it in more modern times. But,
Yeah.
there's certainly a way that I feel like it could have been incorporated into here and not feel like it had to be this sort of like remakey vibe of something and be so current with things. But I mean, like
Yeah.
it's it is what it is, and it's sort of it sets a different tone for
I, I
what
wish
the
it could
movie
have just been a
becomes.
kitschy 80s slasher film. That would have been
Yeah,
fun. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I will say though, I like because I mean, obviously, it sounds like we're very negative on this.
Yeah.
Um, I don't hate this. I
Mm.
actually, an amethyst in the chat here was also saying that he liked it a lot better watching it today. And I felt the same way. Like I think that I definitely have a lot of issues with it, and I see like a, a a concept, a premise that would work under, maybe more careful direction or a better script.
Mm.
But I guess maybe comparative to, I was thinking about the new I Know What You Did Last Summer, and side by side, this is a much better film, in my opinion. And that alone, just like, perspective always helps shape things. So, I didn't have a bad time, but there's
Okay.
definitely, nitpicks, and we'll get into all those as we go along. But before any of that, just the normal jibber jabber that we do here. So if you are new to the Cherry Picker, or if you have been following us, listening or watching for a while, and you want to support and give back a little, and help make this show run, the little engine that could, you can head over to my Patreon account at patreon.com/Zach Cherry, ZACKCHERRY. And if you are subscribed at the Freddy Krueger tier, you will get access to join us as we do these podcast recordings as live streams and be part of the conversation. You can also nominate and vote upon the episode that you want us to cover at the end of each month. So that'll be next week's episode. And you know what? I need to start posting what the options are in like a public forum, because I just realized like it's only, you have access to it if you're looking at it on Patreon, but
Mm.
yeah, there's always so many options and it's not finalized yet. I think there's still a day left, but it looks like the front runner, and what we will be covering next week is the top 10, or our top 10 horror movies of the 21st century so far.
Holy shnikey. Okay.
Yeah.
I got some work to do. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that, or if not, I think that the next runner-up was Copycat, the Siggy Weaves
Oh.
movie. Yeah. So, there's still time to head over there and vote if you want to change it up. But that's a perk. There's also other things, monthly reviews, which I still have to do. Well, I'm actually a little bit behind, but The Descent from the early 2000s. So yeah, that's coming up this week. Hopefully, I got to get on top of that. And all of those they're more of like therapy sessions for me, followed by a review. But if you like that kind of thing, and there's all no,
Where
no,
you
no,
just
it's
sort out your feelings about the movie. Yeah.
not even the movie, but just life. People that want
Oh,
more
okay.
insight into what's going on. And then there's
The complex
also,
inner workings of Zach
yeah,
Cherry. Yes.
private video calls and stuff like that. So there's lots of
Oh.
perks. And even if you want to support at the lowest tier, just think of it like, you pay for Netflix and Disney Plus and Prime and all that Shutter. It's the same thing. You're with us 4 times a month or more sometimes. So it's just think of it as like you're just paying for the podcast that you're enjoying for
Hmm.
free. But having said that, we appreciate all of you for even being here. And I do want to shout out some of my top tier supporters. So thank you very much to the Michael Myers tier. Got Kyle Beard, Sam Levy, Ellie Hamoosh, Shane Ellingham, Tim McKay, Horror Slut 95, Traj 125, Austin Hall, Cara Day, Michael Boswell, Defcon, and then the Ghostface tier. Thank you very much to Eric Champney, Daniel Saturn, Stephanie Starbright, Baby Ghoul. I say Baby Ghoul because the ghoul part is all caps.
Oh.
Yeah. Garrison Nichols, Craig Lynn, Josh Burrow. Thank you very much to all y'all. And let's get into Thanksgiving. You got a
Yeah.
premise?
Yeah. Um, I'll read it in this voice. I don't know. Is there a voice
You're
there?
not going to do a
Well, there, Massachusetts. I can't.
Massachusetts?
I can.
Did I say it
I
right?
can. I'm worried it's gonna sound like Chicago. Because it's all. It's that kind of. I'm trying to I think about like Cliff Clavin on Cheers, just doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little known fact. It's kind of up here, and even the line that I said with like
I
dinner
think
and
I
everything.
think
I
you have
can't
to there's the saying, it's just like go park the car
go
in the
park the
car
car
park.
in the car park.
Yeah.
1 year after Black Friday, see, and then I just go to Brooklyn. But 1 year after a Black Friday riot ends in a tragedy, a mysterious holiday inspired killer seeks retribution on the heads of those he deems guilty in Plymouth, Massachusetts, the birthplace of Thanksgiving.
I always think of like
Huh?
the Family Guy. So like whenever you see Seth MacFarlane doing
Oh
the
yeah,
like the Peter Griffin voice, he
yeah,
always like talks
yeah,
out the side of his mouth. He's like,
yeah.
"Oh, you guys,
I'm
oh,
talk-
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Massachusetts,
yeah."
no, because that makes me sound like I have a stroke.
Where can people find this?
With a subscription to Hulu or for a singular rental on your favorite streaming platform, I did Apple TV Plus for
Yeah.
myself, and you can also it is available on Blu-ray, and there is interestingly enough a 4K
Oh,
steelbook that has
interesting.
art that is more in aligned with the feel of the mock trailer from
Oh,
Grindhouse.
wow.
Yeah, it's just got like it's got like a turkey in kind of like a very gritty, kind of like I don't know. It's just kind of not even copper. It's like
Well, the
faded
steel
gold,
books,
yeah,
yeah,
and then
the steel
black, and then
books
just says
always,
Thanksgiving across the top of it.
yeah,
Yeah,
the steel books always go harder, it seems. But yeah, I've got the Blu-ray here. And interesting thing, and this is only for the people who can see it, if I can like not get the glare. So I got Thanksgiving there,
yeah.
and
Oh my God, the Nightmare remake.
it is the same concept. Or like he's just the hat, looking down, weapon in hand. I really don't like the posters for this movie because that's one of them. And then there's the other one where
Yeah.
he's just sort of like standing, which I used for like the cover for the podcast episode. He's just standing in the street with the axe. Like it's just like how could
Yes.
you make a poster any more boring?
I mean, I get your point. At the same time, I kind of see theirs because it's just simple. It's just kind of like, you know why you're coming. You want to see like a pilgrim killer standing with an axe slashing people. You got the here. That there it now come see it. So I
But
mean,
think of like the Halloween, like the original Halloween
oh yeah.
cover art with like the jack-o'-lantern and the knife coming down and just how
Yeah.
it's sort of like the hand is all
But
part
this
of the
ain't
pumpkin. Yeah.
Halloween as
I mean,
much
but
as
if it's wanting to be in the same family as that, and I know this has nothing to do with the filmmakers, this is all the studio, but it's just like, can we
sure.
get away from boring shit like this? Can we just start doing things that are more interesting looking?
I mean, I guess it depends. I guess I feel like sometimes, even in the vein of horror movies,
Yeah.
that studios are convinced somehow that like minimalism for to advertise horror is, and I think they do it with comedy actually, or back in the days they did it with comedy.
Hmm.
I remember seeing somewhere in social media, I think it was on Instagram, where people were going over how color-coded posters were to promote movies and comedies by and large, like in the late 90s all the way through the 2000s, were like white background with red lettering, and
Hmm.
horror movies were largely black background with usually white lettering, but sometimes, of some kind of like other just like deep dark color that just kind of like shared some grit.
Yeah.
Basically like the remake era,
Well, I mean, the late 90s is when you started to have the Scream V
Sure.
formation,
Yeah,
which
100%.
that kind of took off. I will say though that I mean, like it's not like the key art is lying for this movie. It's a very washed out brown looking poster, which is very much kind of like the coloring of this movie.
Yeah.
So not favorable, but I mean,
I
it's
mean, there are
consistent.
moments where I can see like them imbuing the screen with some oranges and some greens or some amber, and I'm just like, okay, that feels autumnal, but I mean,
Ugh,
it's not the look of the film. It's just every
yeah.
now and then I noticed, oh, somebody made an effort lighting this room.
You said autumnal again.
Autumnal, autumnal,
Autumnal,
uh,
autumnal,
autumn, autumny, fall, like fall, but
fallish.
fallish. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, I did kind of appreciate because I only saw this movie once before in the
Mhm.
theater, and I remember people really, okay, I will say this, like, because this isn't just going to be a let's trash the movie pod. I remember hearing a lot of people trashing it before I went to go see it. The rhetoric was very, very clear. We've already kind of spelled that out. But, and I, because I share the opinion, but I remember going in and sitting down to just see how bad it was. And because I was expecting it to be horrible, I didn't think it was really all that offensive. I just found it kind of dull and sloppy. But I thought there were, and I still think there are some like pretty effective kills. I really love the practical effects.
Hmm.
And that's about it. And then we'll find out if there's more
Yeah.
to compliment as I go through my notes. But the thing was, I walked away from it, thought I had kind of like a good picture of what happened in my head, and then I sat down to watch it. And I think for the first 35 minutes of the film, I was like, I don't remember any of this. And I checked at the 35-minute stamp. I was like, I still don't care what's happening to any
Hmm.
of these people. And things have happened. I mean, I cared about Gina Gershon, but that's because it's Gina
Gina Gershon,
Gershon.
yeah.
Yeah, like you have anything happen to her, I'm gonna care. But I mean, and I guess okay, I criticize kind of like the absurd, seemingly absurd today Black Friday madness of it all, but there was
Mhm.
something about like me that had a reflexive like ah when I saw some of the gruesome things that these people were happening to these people, like the bending, the breaking of the arm, and
Yeah.
the way Gina Gershon's like what was it, her forehead,
Scalp
her
was,
scalp just
yeah,
like
peeled
scraped,
off. Yeah.
peeled off. Yeah, like I mean that's fun.
Yeah. What Kyle is saying, this movie isn't bad per se, it's just flat, which, I agree with that.
Yeah,
the if it can be commended for anything, like you said, I'll just echo this. I think that the practical effects and the
yeah.
kills are really great. Like there's obviously it seems like there's some CGI very minimal used in places,
Hmm.
but for the most part, like a lot of what's implemented here is good. It's, I want to see more stuff like that. um it's the script for me that really
Hmm.
is kind of the flat line here. And like I know that this was very much a kind of like a buddy effort. I mean, like I didn't listen to the commentary today, but I remember listening to it back when I first got it. I think there's a commentary on here. It was something.
Hmm.
There was definitely, yes, there is a commentary on here. Because it's written by, the story concept is Eli Roth and his
Yeah.
childhood friend Jeff Rendell, and
Hmm.
then Jeff did the screenplay. And uh, Jeff Rendell's credits are very minimal. It's just like Eli Roth movies that they've worked on together. So I think Cabin Fever, and then the original trailer for Thanksgiving is one of them. And
Right.
it's one thing that I notice a lot of in this movie is that the dialogue does feel very written, as we would say, where it's
Dear
just like
God.
everything that's being said is almost like a telegraphing of something, of just sort of
Yeah.
like, oh, I can't believe, like I had to actually turn on the subtitles for this movie, which is something that I did for I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025, just because there was so much like throwaway dialogue in there that it's just like I don't know what they're saying. I need to like see it on the screen so I can like figure out whether it's like important or not. So there's just
Mm.
sort of like all these things, like especially at the beginning where she's talking about the stepmom, who's, I guess she was like a realtor, and she sold the house to her father, and she's like, I didn't know that she would come with it. And it was just like it's said in like the span of all this other expositional dialogue in such a short amount of time that it's like, okay, like none of this is important. There's better
Hmm.
ways to kind of convey your story or your characters that are not in like these unrealistic conversations that no one would be having all up front in these, like at this very moment.
Right.
And I think the worst offense of it, which is like right as soon as we're introduced to the friends, where they come rolling up in the car and they get in, and I don't know. what the fuck they're talking about. I can't
Oh,
understand a
jeez.
single thing that they're saying.
I am so glad that you said that. One of the first notes I wrote was just like car full of teens, question mark. I couldn't tell what age they were, but I just said I cannot follow the thread of a group of youths in an Eli Roth movie. I'm glad you brought up Cabin Fever because I mean I
Yeah,
haven't seen that movie in a long time, but
I've never seen
it
it.
I have, and I vaguely, like vaguely remember how kind of like, unscrupulous and, heavily flawed they were the kind of people I didn't want to hang out with, 100%. And they were so uninteresting that I didn't even really want to see bad things happen to them. I was just kind of like, just oh my God, just get it over with. Just get the movie over with as soon as possible. And I will say this isn't that, but I'm so glad you brought up that thing because they were talking and I was just like, I have no idea what they're talking about. I don't know what is being discussed, and I don't know any of their names. I spent most of the movie not knowing most of these characters' names.
So yeah, like from what I gather, just like upon like having seen it like three times now and like having the subtitles, is
Yeah.
that the one like the main dude, or like not the main dude, but like the one who's like clearly the shit disturber who's driving,
Okay.
he got in a fight with
Oh.
that one guy who's like on the rival football team, and they're just talking about
Hmm.
how like Hanover, which is the name of the school, sucks, and
Sure.
yada yada yada. But it's also like interwoven with all this other stuff, like the Russian girl, like the girl from a Russian family, like she just started dating Scuba, which is not his
Yes.
name. His
They
and
were the
there's
only
this
two memorable because she was Yulia. I do remember
yeah
that from the way
yeah
her father called her Yulia.
Yulia.
Yes.
But yeah, they just started seeing each other and yada yada. Yada. But the black guy, his name is Scuba, and there's like a whole bit later on where they're just like, "That's your name," and he's like, "Well, no, we call him that because his last name is Dibing." And
Yeah.
they're like, "Well, what's your first name?" I think he said it was Claude or something. He's like, "Yeah, Scuba is better." And it's just like, why do we have time for this shit? Like none of this matters. I don't even know anyone else's names, but I think I've got it now. The main girl's name is Jessica,
Yes.
which I should know because at the very end there's like the Jessica, which is probably like the most memorable saying of her name. The
Mm.
Evan is the the one driving. Gabby, who's played by Addison Rae, who I like. We were talking about this before we started in the chat because it's like I've heard of Addison Rae, and then she's like a TikToker, and I guess a musician as well. I have no idea who she is, and I
Mm.
don't feel that like her character in this movie, like she might be one of the most like. I don't think that she was needed. I don't think that like that was a character that was needed in this movie because she didn't really do anything.
No, she was just a person. She was just
Yeah.
literally a body, and then like I don't
She
remember.
wasn't a death.
No,
Yeah.
that would have been something. Like, show me how you
Yeah.
kill Addison Rae. I don't know,
The
but
oh, hold on. So the other characters, Bobby was like the guy that she's dating at the start of the movie, and
right,
then I don't even remember the Ryan is the one that takes over. And
the
there's like
the new guy.
the thread of this like love triangle.
Jesus.
Again, like you could have taken out both of those characters and the
Yeah.
movie would have been the same. It probably would have been better for it. But the one thing that I like, just a part of that why the script is just not working for me as well, is just that there's way too many characters in this movie. There's like
Mm,
I didn't count how many there were, but like upwards of like, maybe 30 or more.
mm-hmm.
And like the kid who's like helping Evan cheat or like writing his papers for him, and then the guy who's selling the guns. Was it like McCarty? I
Oh
remember
yeah.
that
Okay.
because that was like
What? What was the fucking deal? Okay, because I could have sworn, and I didn't care to rewind it to hear it again, because I knew we were going to talk about it, and I thought maybe Zach will be able to answer this for me. Okay, didn't one of the girls, maybe Jess, I don't remember, is
Mhm.
standing there across from him while he's selling, he's saying he's not selling guns at first, he's selling booze, like is he selling alcohol? And
He's like there's a party that I guess
yeah,
happens every year where like high school kids go and he charges them a cover, but it's like somewhere where they can go to drink.
right.
And then he's also selling guns and weapons and whatnot. But he's out there. Are you talking about the thing where he shoots off the rifle And then they're like, "What are you, Jesus? What are you doing?" And he's like, "It's just gunpowder. There's nothing in it." And then she says,
Right,
"Oh, I
right,
hate those things. Like I had this whole thing
right.
when I was a little kid, and it's I don't even
A musket. She shot off a musket and
yeah
it almost killed her. And so it almost exploded in her face or something like that. That's not the thing I'm mentioning, but that
yeah yeah
totally telegraphing to us like, okay, so she's going to hold a musket at some point because it's what pilgrims did. And she's going to,
mhm,
and the whole thing is going to depend on her firing it and not exploding her face or whatever. And she even reiterates later just kind of like, oh, do not talk to me about muskets. And just like, we get it, we know. I dead people know what's going to happen by now. But but what I was talking about was just like, I think it was the first scene he was in. I can't remember if he was sitting in a lawn chair or whatever, but he said something, and she or maybe Addison Rae said to
yeah
him something like, "Are you like perpetually in 10th grade or something like that?" And I was just kind of like, wait, is he supposed to be like one of them? Is he
yeah
supposed to be a teenager or somebody who's like held back a lot in school, or
yeah
are they are they teasing him? Like even the shit talking in the movie just
mhm,
offers more questions. I'm just kind of like this needs to be clarified, and I shouldn't be thinking that. I should, if somebody says something to shut someone else down, I should either
mhm,
think it's lame and be able to go, oh, that was lame, and then move
yeah
on, or I should go,
yeah.
oh, you know? And I didn't do
Well,
either of those. I was just kind of like, what? What does that mean?
yeah, but that's the thing. Like, there's all these characters, and this is just like a handful of them. Like, there's like
Yeah.
there's like the deputy, like the new deputy. They make a big deal about how he's like brand new, and he has this altercation with the Asian detective in the parking lot, and it's like they're like really building up all these characters as if they're going to be important. And I will say, because I watched, there are deleted scenes where there's more context to these characters and like kind of
Mm,
like the role that they bring to the movie, but none of these scenes are really, they don't establish anyone as a red herring. It's just
hmm
sort of like filler. So now that all this stuff got cut, it just leaves a lot of loose, not even like loose threads, but just sort of like exclamation points on things that don't matter.
hmm
And that's the thing. It's just like I get the idea of like having a lot of suspects and having a plethora of characters, but if you're not going to make the attempt to make any of them the suspect, like a red herring or suspected in any way, shape, or form, then what is the purpose of that? And that was an issue that I had with the like the last two Scream movies. It's just like you're not doing red herrings properly.
hmm
Um, like Kyle Gallner in Scream 5, for instance, it's just like this is the that was probably the one character that you actually established as a really good red herring, and then you
hmm
took him out in like his
Right.
next scene. So it's just like I don't know what it is. Like it's clearly not an Eli Roth, Jeff Rendell thing. It just feels like it's all encompassing of like, I know what you did last summer, 2025, and the new Scream movies where it's just like nobody is doing red herrings, where you're trying to make a murder mystery. You're not doing it properly.
Well, that's true, but that
Yeah.
said, I would watch either Five Cream or Screevy so much faster than I would rewatch this movie. And in just from my take, I actually feel this might be. I'd have to watch the new "I Know What You Did Last Summer" movie again to
Yeah.
really get a clearer. I feel like largely my response to both Thanksgiving and the "I Know What You Did Last Summer" 2025, they're kind of on par with each other for me in terms of
Yeah.
my reaction to them, in terms of like, well, you didn't get everything wrong, but at the end of the day, do I care? Not really. Do I
Yeah.
remember terribly all that much? Am I going to think about this movie and return to it like annually or even biannually? Probably not.
Mhm.
But or maybe, if I know someone who we watch horror movies and they've never seen it and they're down, I'll be like, "Sure, I'll watch it with you." Like it's like I said, it's not offensive, but it is just kind of meh. Oh, because
Yeah.
that was another thing. The only this is a sad thing because I feel like it is a trend in Eli Roth films that I've been exposed to thus far, is that like the most memorable characters tend to be the ones with the worst traits. So I feel like out of these kids, the most memorable one to me is, I think you said his name was Evan, who's kind of the jockiest of the jocks.
Yeah.
And just because he does something that's somewhat like at least I was clocking it like after the shenanigans of the past and it's a year later and everybody's kind of like you know, rebuilding their lives and moving on and doing whatever they're doing. And Bobby's disappeared off the face of the earth. He ghosted Jess. So Jess has moved on with this guy, Ryan. Thank you for all of the names. I hope I remember them for the rest of the pod, Zach. But anyway, so they're all sitting there at the table, and Evan is kind of going on about how, like, yeah, Ryan's just not, he's just whatever. He's just not the kind of guy. He just doesn't get it, or whatever he says. And then Ryan ends up showing up, and I guess he felt this intuitively, so he knew I need to get some like sports tickets at like courtside with, is that even the term? I don't know sports. They want to sit like, like on the floor and watch the thing and go woo and cheer their team. Cool. And they respond positively, and he all of a sudden it's just kind of like he has a bit of a turnaround. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So does that mean that we're gonna watch this go sour, like, in a conflict? As the murderers start like piling up and everything like that, like, or are they actually going to, is this opening a door to friendship, or is there going to be a loyalty to Bobby? And none of it ever gets explored at all. Like,
No.
I was like, that was a halfway interesting interaction you showed me between like two, because like, even just at a base level from existing around people, I am all about the gossip. And if I find out that even a group I don't hang out with, one person doesn't like the new person, then the new person does something to try and ingratiate themselves, I'm going to be like, so did it work?
Yeah.
So, but then they don't do anything
Well,
with
he
it.
calls him an NPC,
Yeah.
a non-playable character, and
Right,
I
right,
think
right,
for all
right.
intents and purposes, Ryan is kind of that. So his read was right. Just to speak to what you were saying before, just like the comparatives to the Screams, and I know you did last
Sure.
summer. I think that, of course, I would probably sooner revisit Scream 5 and Scream 6 just because that is part of the franchise. And I think that they are better made films in a
Hmm.
sense of just sort of like they're bigger
Yeah.
than what this is. But I think that there are things within Thanksgiving that are being done so much better than they were in Five Cream and Screevy. Where I know what you did last summer is concerned, that is just a mess. That is a huge disaster from an
Mm.
editing standpoint, especially. Um, just like the script of just trying to piece together pieces
Hmm.
of an idea that was just more so based on ambition and nostalgia.
Mm.
Um, where this was something that was, like put together. It took 16 years to make this. I feel that there's a lot more intention in what's happening here, even if the execution isn't right. Like I feel that this is a movie that probably Eli Roth and Jeff Rendell watch and they pick up on in it, like things like that. Like it's just there's probably a
Mm.
lot of like inside jokes and stuff like that that
Sure.
it's a movie that they essentially made for themselves.
Hmm.
And I think that I like the idea of filmmakers just being like, fuck the audience, I'm gonna make a movie that I want to see,
Sure.
but that doesn't always mean that it's going to be good. Like I know that Jordan Peele, like the movies that he's been making are obviously movies that he's making for himself, and it's
Sure.
like if there's an audience for that, then great. So I think that it was, that was sort of the case here.
Hmm.
And it's, like if you're looking for, it all goes back to Scream, everyone wants to make like the next Scream or anything like that. And I don't think it's ever going to happen again, and not to say that like that's because Scream is a perfect movie and on a pedestal
Hmm.
of its own, which I mean in a lot of ways it is, but there's also that movie was afforded the luxury of Wes Craven being able to develop the story in the way that he did, where there was just so much intention put into specific aspects of the film and characteristics. And I feel like studios now, like they want the finished product, but they're not willing to
Sure.
put in the work to get there. And I think that, if there were, instances where filmmakers could make movies the way that Wes Craven was allowed to make them for that,
Hmm.
then it would actually be more beneficial for studios because it's just like make the really good movie
Yeah.
and then make all your bullshit sequels after that. Like just start cashing it in. I'm actually really surprised that Thanksgiving 2 is happening because this does not feel like a movie that had a big following or, I I
But it
think it
made
did
money.
okay at the box office, but I
Yeah.
don't think it did enough to warrant a second one.
I guess it made
Um,
enough, and I guess
yeah.
they that it's kind of like people are going to want to go see the Thanksgiving horror movie on Thanksgiving. I think is
Hmm.
probably the
Yeah.
again the base level
Yeah.
goal, and they can reach that
Yeah.
goal easily.
But it's just like
Um,
it's like it's just not gonna, just to put a end to of what I was saying, is like we're, you can try to emulate the success of something, but unless you're
mhm.
going to try to emulate the creativity of it, it's just going to be this like nonstop shitstorm of like crap. Like I know what you did last summer,
Yeah,
2025,
right.
and this to a certain extent, and where the Scream movies have been going, in my opinion.
I agree with you in terms of the creativity, like not emulating that, because again, it's not even, I mean, the creativity is such an umbrella term. Like there are so many ways to manifest your creativity, and it's not like they missed every opportunity with this film. But I think the big thing for me was, I mean, you brought up Wes Craven, and it comes up if we discuss directors like George Romero or Tobe Hooper or even Mary Harron when we discuss American Psycho, or just, I mean, just John Carpenter, movies that actually do carry some social commentary. Like you don't have to scratch very hard at the surface to just kind of find that these are ultimately stories that get the slasher job done or whatever, like satisfy that horror thrill that we all go to the movies, to the moving pictures for, but they also
Mhm.
have in kind of innately stories that are about us, that are just kind of like, contemporary, rooted in their time, like grim fairy tales for us to carry with us about like how we've advanced or haven't advanced as a society. And I think I didn't need a big overarching moral or anything like that, but I did wonder, particularly again, just sorry to harp on it, but just because they spent a lot of time in that opening on Black Friday and kind of like the brutality and the mass hysteria that people go through in terms of just like their greed and their consumption and their just indifference to each other, and even indifference turned on its head that goes into like malice toward each other, like we become animals gone mad who are just snapping at each other in cages. And I wondered while I was watching it, because like I said, I didn't remember a lot of this movie coming back to it. So while I was screening it
Mhm.
today, I wondered, okay, so is Eli Roth trying to make some kind of point about us and our brutality that we exact on each other, like in a scenario where it's so easy to dehumanize people, like retail, and especially
Mhm.
around a time of year where it's supposed to be about whether we're talking, I mean, it's Thanksgiving, but it's also in prep for Christmas. Like here are holidays that are on the poster art all about like families, togetherness, compassion, taking care of those who are less fortunate than you are and everything like that. Like that's what it says on the tin. That's what the advertisement is for
Mhm.
both of those holidays. But and for being grateful in this particular instance, like for being grateful for what it is you have, and all of these people are just focusing on what they don't have and what they're being screwed out of. And I wondered, is there some kind of like social commentary that I forgot about that's going to pay off later in the movie? I didn't feel it, and I even wrote a note at a point when I think it was when John Carver got Kathleen prepped for the oven. I had some
Mhm.
time to write, so I just wrote this. I keep waiting for some use of irony, because this occurred to me too. I'm watching everybody dressed as pilgrims. I keep waiting for some use of irony around the perceived victims of the film, meaning the teens predominantly, being
Mhm.
costumed as colonizers. And since maybe it's there since their perceived villain, John Carver, as far as the movie is concerned. Oh no, they're the perceived villain as far as the movie's killer is concerned. John Carver sees them as the villains. They're the problem. Very Pamela Voorhees with the camp counselors and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I just wrote, but I don't even have faith that that was intentional, because because as I'm watching it again, it made me wonder: is this like an inner thing? Is this something that's just over my head? Because all of a sudden, John Carver presumably is there at this parade while they're all on floats, waving and whatnot, and John Carver is disguised as a clown, and I'm just kind of like, what does this have to do with
Misdirection.
anything?
Yeah.
And I guess, but misdirection, but like not in a way that felt like strategic or insightful or smart. It just kind of felt
Mhm.
like random, and and again, it didn't satisfy me. It didn't.
Yeah.
it didn't make me feel like there was like the word we use when people make it work, a deft hand, kind of like, going over all of this, refining it,
Yeah.
fine-tuning it, and making it this well-oiled
Well,
machine that I can
that's
return to over and over again. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
that's what I mean when when I say like emulate Scream, because I don't know that a lot of people will
Mm,
misinterpret that and think that like you just want to see Scream made again. I don't.
no,
That
no.
movie has been made. What I'm talking about is the craftsmanship of
Yes.
or craftsmanship of Scream. That is what we're not seeing. I don't need another Scream movie. I just need to that level of work being put into something here. And I completely agree with you in a sense that those details aren't there. There's no through line. You know,
Hmm.
what we find out at the end of just sort of like it's a basic revenge thing of just like someone kind of going off the rails. But you know, even in that case, you know, I look at the flash of a backstory that we get for him,
Yeah.
the killer, who in this case, I mean, obviously we're spoiling it,
Yeah.
is Patrick Dempsey's character, who I
Hmm.
don't even, like I remember his name. I
I
just the
had to write
sheriff.
it down.
Yeah,
Eric Newton, Sheriff Eric Newton. Yeah.
Newton, Newton,
Newton.
Newton is that
Eric.
there's a hypocrisy behind like you know his reasoning too. He is having an affair with his best friend's wife, and they're
Mm,
planning on I guess like she's gonna leave him, leave her husband, and they're having a baby together.
hmm.
Is what is presented here. We see the
Yeah.
ultrasound. So it raises a lot of questions too, because I'm wondering like, does that make any sense? We see at the beginning, like if there was trouble in this marriage,
Hmm.
that she would be leaving him. I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing a wife who's very devoted. She's bringing him leftovers to work because he has to work on this Thanksgiving day. It's just like none of this is adding up. It just feels like this kind of like messy thing was shoehorned here. If it was just
Hmm.
going to be a revenge thing, like I think maybe the fact that maybe he had feelings for her, she wasn't having an affair with him or anything like that, and
Right.
it was just a matter of like, you know, you took away the one like bright light in my life. So I'm
Hmm.
taking this out on you. But just to like implement this whole thing that they're actually doing something that is not really morally just on their own.
Hmm.
So you know, it's not a scenario where, you know, he can turn around and just be like, I'm gonna right what's wrong. But even if that was the case, there are no characters that are saying like, well, you're kind of a shitbag too. Like, look what you were doing to your best friend. Like, none of that, like it's there, but none of it is ever addressed. None of it,
No.
like that character who I forget his name, he just disappears. He shows up again at the
Right.
to protest at the parade.
Sure.
Um, but and there was more deleted scenes with him as well, actually. There was this whole thing where Sheriff Newton goes to his house and is questioning him about his handwriting being like similar to what
Right.
the
Right.
handwriting is on the thing. By the way, the house that he lives in, which is the very first shot of the movie,
Yeah.
um, is that location was filmed right across the street from where my mom lives in Toronto.
Oh my
So
God.
she had like was messaging me and she's like, there's a movie being filmed here. I think it's called Thanksgiving. And I'm just like, well, go out, like take pictures or whatever. Because what I knew, like found out after the fact that it's like Gina Gershon, like that's the only thing that she was
Oh.
really in the movie was that opening.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm a little disappointed, but I did when I went out there last year because I
Yeah.
was staying with my mom for a few weeks. I just like could look out the window and like there's the house and like would walk
Yeah.
by and it's like that's crazy. But from the opening shot of the movie, because we see the POV walking up to the steps
Yeah.
and then it's you know reversed and we find out that's Patrick Dempsey. I
Yeah.
intuitively I'm just like, oh, he's the killer.
Right.
And for the rest of the movie, as far as I was concerned in my mind, like not that the movie was even trying to present suspects or anything, but I was just like, it's Patrick Dempsey because he
Hmm.
had this killer POV. There was no reason to have that at the
Hmm.
beginning of the movie, and yeah, so there was really no surprises here
I
for me.
remember it occurred to me, but then it really kind of doubled down for me later in the movie again, before the reveal, but it's like literally Jess sees Bobby pull the mask off, which is, highly incriminating. And yet I'm sitting here going like, well, but he's not the killer. And then around the corner with like a charred face comes Patrick Dempsey or Eric. And I
Well, he had
remember
a,
just
not
thinking like,
charred, but he had like a gash
or
on
oh, was
his
it a wound?
forehead.
Was it a wound?
Yeah,
Okay. So he just like a bloody wound or whatever that was going
yeah,
down his face. And so he comes out around the corner. I was just kind of like, oh, he's the killer. I mean,
yeah.
it's like there are things that just after watching so many horror movies, like you're going to have reactions to things that are
Yeah.
tells. And I don't know. I wonder if Eli Roth again did that knowingly and wanted us to kind of like be ahead of the curve so we could be a little like, oh no, now she's in danger. But okay.
No, I don't think
Another.
so. I
Yeah.
see what you're saying. I just think that they actually thought that they were misdirecting us
Yeah, and
because there was, and I say that because there's so much exposition put in to like when he explains why that happened with Bobby, because I guess he had him tied up in the trunk, and when went out to get him, he like knocked him
yeah.
out with a tire iron,
Hmm.
and so like that was actually, and I forgot about this when she runs up and finds him there, um, next to the car, and he's presumably unconscious. That actually happened. He didn't like stage it. So again,
Hmm.
there's like things like, if he was to stage it, like that would have been more in line with what I would think a killer would do in movies like this to misdirect.
Hmm.
But instead, he's presenting this scenario where no, he kind of fucked up because he's not that great at doing this. And we're led to believe that Bobby, for whatever reason, had this John Carver mask on, and he, without taking it off for this entire time, wandered into the factory and proceeded to look suspicious. So when she walked in, that's where he would take the mask off and lead us to believe otherwise. Like that's not, I don't feel like that's like a writer director being like, yeah, we're really gonna like people know this stuff. We're pretty much setting it up. That I
Yeah,
feel is just clumsy and like that just feels very novice and just sort of like,
yeah.
oh, people are gonna fall for this. But
No, I don't.
again, I'll just bring this back to the idea that like that's
Yeah,
what's happening with like content these days is everything is being dumbed down
right.
to a point where people can follow it. So I mean maybe it's intentional to do that, but I think for us like just that we've been watching these movies for so long because maybe someone fell for that, but we
Maybe.
wouldn't because we know better.
Right. I mean, it's not even about like intelligence or anything like that. I feel like it's just kind of like a gut reaction. It is reflexive. I literally see him pull the mask off. I'm like, well, he's not the killer. And then I see Patrick Dempsey come around the corner. I'm like, well, he's the killer. All right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm on board with you, movie. Like, I mean, I'm not interested anymore, but okay, because that's another thing. Because strategically, like, it just doesn't pay off. And also in terms of just like the fun of it all, like it doesn't have that kind of like wonderful, free, nostalgic, spirited nature that I got from the trailer. And also, it's so much. I don't want to keep comparing it to the trailer and speculating about what a better movie this would have been if they had just made that movie, because I don't know. Honestly, they could have fucked that up too.
Mhm.
We're talking about like literally 2.5 minutes of footage versus, what is this, like an hour and 40, something like that.
Yeah.
And so I mean,
Longer, it felt like.
so I'm not going to compare it to something that doesn't exist, but I will say another big hole for me that was missing with this was largely an absence of uh, what's the word? I guess a consistent threat. I felt like there were moments in kill scenes that were very, very effective, and I was just kind of like, this was staged really well. That wound was created like really, really well. I love seeing the viscera. I love seeing the kind of Thanksgiving twist on it, which is also largely kind of evocative of things that are revealed in the trailer. But I thought, okay, they executed it well. It looks nice. But I'm thinking that as opposed to sitting there having my blood, like curdle and feeling, my skin crawl because like, oh my God, it's Thanksgiving, like so there's no real chill. There's no real sense like, and I think a big part of that, you've brought up the script and I couldn't agree more with you that it doesn't work, but I also think I won't talk to the actors so much as just like, I think the way they were directed, I feel like I've said this time to time. on the pod when I feel like I'm watching actors adrift, where when they're being directed by someone who doesn't really know how to work with actors and get the most out of them. That's why I get not just the lines are completely expository and devoid of spontaneity and life, but they're also or surprise, but the performances are just largely flat and monotone. And I mean, there's that exchange when Bobby first comes back and Jess sees him, and she's just kind of like, "You're back," and he's just kind of like, "Will you walk with me?" And she just kind of smiles at him, and then she's walking. She's just like, "You ghosted me." Like, I didn't know what happened to
Yeah.
you. And he says, "Well, I just didn't want to bring everybody down." She's like, "But I'm not everybody. I was your girlfriend." "Oh, Bobby, I feel horrible." Like I wrote this is dialogue. And then he just says something like, "Oh, I just shouldn't have think of it." I mean, it's just there, like you said, it's largely expository, just completely left out, but also just delivered with there's a way to infuse life in some of the most rigid, stiff, unlifelike
Hmm.
dialogue. Even if you camp it up, or even if you just kind of like find some something you missed about him, and if he finds
Yeah.
something like, okay, so you feel bad about it, but why? What did you miss out on? What did what do you wish you could have been there for, or how are you planning to make it up to her? Like all of that needs to be in the undercurrents of the performances, and it's not. It's literally be like if we recorded a pod and I said, "Hello, Zach, we're recording a podcast. I'm your co-host, and I'm very, very pleased to be here with you. We're going to be discussing Thanksgiving because that's what we do. We discuss horror movies and we podcast, which is
Mm.
iPod and broadcast combined together, even though we no longer listen on iPods. I mean, it's not.
I it's almost like any dialogue from The Room. But
But even that is delivered with
yeah.
spirit. You know what they say,
Yeah.
love is blind,
The No, I agree.
Yeah.
And we actually ironically Gina Gershon we talked about this when we covered Showgirls a few months back because we were
Oh,
talking about like what is a bad performance? Like when
right.
is an actor like truly bad? And we came to the conclusion that Elizabeth Berkley is not a bad actress. I think she's a
No.
great actress.
Mhm.
She was put in a position where I mean, I think that she was directed to do exactly what she did, and she did it wonderful in the movie. But
100%.
but people perceived that as bad acting when
Hmm.
really, I don't think it was bad. At all.
Hmm.
I think that everything worked about what was happening there. But someone
Hmm.
can look at that and say, well, that's a bad actor because of that. And I really don't. And I think that you've actually helped me with this a lot too, of just like having this mindset. I don't know that bad actors exist. I think
Hmm.
that any actor, like no matter what their capabilities are or their range, is capable of delivering a good performance,
Hmm.
and it really is dependent on the filmmaker.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't think that that necessarily means that Eli Roth is not a good director, but clearly his priorities are not in terms of like the dialogue or the performances. That's all
Hmm.
secondary. And I feel that, there's a lot of filmmakers in the genre nowadays that don't really care about like stuff like that is not important. It's all about the kills and the guts and the gore. And Eli Roth is definitely I've never heard him speak to this. I've never heard him say that like actors or performances aren't important. I don't think that that's anything that he ever would say, but I
Right.
know that his wheelhouse is hostile and gory shit and stuff like that. And like the more kills, the better. So it would make sense to me that he's not really focused on the dialogue and the acting as much as he is on like the kills.
Hmm.
So I don't excuse that. I think that like there's a world that exists where those things can exist in harmony. And I think especially where my tastes come in for horror movies, like I'm more interested in the performances and the dialogue and all that stuff. Like
Right,
I
right.
would like to see like good kill scenes and stuff like that, but it's not always at the top of my list. I mean, like look, like Halloween, there
Hmm.
the the blood, it's too red. There is no blood in that movie, but like I don't like that. Look how effective you think of your favorite horror movies, and like some of them don't even really have like any extreme viscera like that because it's more of just like what you don't see or what is implied.
Hmm.
So it could just come down to a thing about taste, and I know that like for us, we expect a little bit more when it comes to the characters within the movie.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm right there with you on that.
Well, also, I mean, in terms of just consistency, like, I mean, I'm glad you brought up Elizabeth Berkley because I will say, if even to the harshest critic, has to admit that that is a consistent performance. I never
Mhm.
doubt for a second that this is Nomi Malone on stage, and
Yeah.
the fact that I have an opinion on who this character is, like there's a litmus test when you see somebody on screen whether you buy it or not. And I buy
Mhm.
it every moment that it happens. I don't ever feel like I'm watching Elizabeth Berkley act badly. I feel like I'm watching Nomi Malone make bad choices. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Therein lies the difference. And I
Yeah.
would love to kind of like attach myself to that. I mean, and there were moments, there are certain characters who just inherently, because of the situations that they're put in, it does work. It does just kind of like accidentally work in terms of me empathizing with them. Like I wondered a lot about what was going on with Yulia and her really rigid, demanding father, and his barely acknowledging of Scuba, who she's dating. Wondered if there was like, some kind of racial component there, like if her dad's just a little, bit of an asshole. And it never really got expressed, and I don't need it to, but I just wondered. But I was interested. It made me lean in and just kind of go like, okay, so what's going on here? And then even just like the way he's just like, we go to Florida. That is where we will go. And she's like, okay, Papa, I don't know, we're going to Florida. But I'm still going to talk to my boyfriend. I'm still going to talk with my friends. I'm still going to like, and I was just like, okay, cool. I mean, because what is she going to do? Like this guy seems pretty demanding and pretty just like, I don't think you can talk him or coerce him out of
Mhm.
like once he's made up his mind. She knows to choose her battles, and so she's going to go along. So then maybe she can use it in an argument later, like I went to Florida, So just so you can say, I have listened to you. I have done what you've told me. So don't tell me that I never listened to you. See, I'm already like developing like headcanon for this family that we barely get exposed to.
Yeah.
But then when we're in this house that is like under construction, and there was another question that was it the not the security guard, but there was a cop who was,
Yeah.
basically their
The
security,
Reno.
the Reno, who was
Yeah.
sitting there, and the Reno, the Rento cop.
No, the
But,
Reno. They talked about the Reno. Like when's
oh,
this?
the Ren. Okay,
Yeah,
I was like,
he's like,
what?
when's this Reno gonna be done? Never.
When's
Yeah.
this Reno gonna
Yeah.
be done? See, that's what you get from reading it with the subtitles. I didn't clock that,
Yeah.
but good for you. Anyway, so yeah, he says like never, and I'm just like, oh, so wait, never in that like again, my head kept wondering. I was just kind of like, it's never going to be done. Does that mean that like it feels endless and like you're just fed up with everything, and that's why you kind of a short temper about this, or are you just eternally going to be changing it because you have the money and you can? Like I
Mhm.
just, developing interest in these characters that are on the way out, and then I thought actually like her kill. I kind of again. Sometimes things are planted in a way that pays off, that makes sense, and sometimes they're planted just to kind of like play up to the vulnerability of a character. So the fact that we were focusing on her eyes as much as we are, and then focusing on like her ears, um,
Yeah.
with a Q-tip, it just kind of like played up to the fact that this character is incredibly vulnerable. And now I'm just speculating, like, oh God, what's going to happen to her eyes? Oh God, what's going to happen to her ears? I don't remember if anything happened to her eyes, but he definitely put the corn cobs in her
No, no, yeah.
ears.
There was nothing with the eyes. I think there was just more, and I liked that. I like those details. I
Hmm.
also like the fact that in the scene before that, we saw her wearing those like really big earmuffs, which I just thought like, like looking back on that in retrospect, like that's a really good detail for like character
Right.
wardrobe.
Uh-huh.
And I always think of the Carrie Fisher's daughter on Scream Queens because like that was her
Bill
whole
Billy Lord. Yeah.
Billy Lord, yeah, but her character always like had the earmuffs on, like that was a thing for her. But I liked
Oh.
that at least correlation here in a sense that like she's, her ears are no longer protected, and we get these little things jabbed in there. Um, would have been nice to see like him get the little corn cob things from the kitchen, like before this happened.
Oh
Um,
God. Yeah, more dread. More yeah.
yeah, just like creating little details like that. But yeah, I mean, I yeah, I don't have any issues with the acting per se, other than like, it just like everything is so unspirited and flat. I
Yeah.
actually think that Patrick Dempsey, for what he does, it because it feels, and I don't know, I might just be making shit up, but everything I said about like Eli Roth being more focused on the kills of the movie and stuff like that. I can see a
Mm,
scenario where like more like veteran actors like Patrick Dempsey and Gina Gershon are just sort of like, all right, I mean, we've been in scenarios like this before. We're on our own. We'll
hmm.
do something with it. I know that
Yes.
Gina Gershon has worked with Eli Roth on several occasions, so I don't know what
Mm,
their rapport is, but I can definitely like tell like from Patrick Dempsey, like especially towards the end there, he's doing like I actually enjoy his
yeah.
villainous turn at the end. I think
Hmm.
that he's doing a pretty good job of it.
Hmm.
Um, I can't make heads or tails of what their like Gina Gershon and Patrick Dempsey's relationship is. Like again, none of that really made sense to me, and I feel like that's where if it made sense in the script and if there were conversations about like what is the through line for these characters and their relationship, that there could have been
Right.
something developed there. But I mean, Gina Gershon is showing up and she's just doing her Gina Gershon thing as best as she can, which is pretty fucking great. So I think that
Right.
like more experienced actors, like they're obviously going to stand out. And I really wish that Gina had a larger role in this movie.
Me
I
too.
actually think it wouldn't it have been so fun if she was still alive or just revealed that she was still alive and like they were maybe the killers together, or maybe she was just the killer at the end there, just little things like that would have
Oh.
probably, I mean, that's just my alternate universe, but
Right.
it would have
Well,
made the
more
movie so much more
More Gina
interesting.
Gershon all the time, 100%.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
mean, I even if they would have gone like a way, like again, to kind of like lean into not just like even the trailer, but in the mock trailer, but leaning into just kind of like the Grindhouse aspect of it all, of just kind of
Mhm.
like honoring what came before. If they had a means of kind of like making it more like sleepaway camp, where we kind of got like get introduced to this weird dynamic in the beginning of the movie that we return to at the end of the movie where something is revealed that you're just kind of like, oh, that's what was going on the entire time.
Mm,
Because like I like what you brought up earlier about like does Sheriff Eric really have a thing going with her? Is that really his baby, or is this something that he just kind of conjured up in his head because he's envious because his friend, I looked it up, his the friend's name is Mitch, the
mm.
one who's Gina Gershon's husband. Like, what if she was just like a happy, wife in a good marriage? And was just always friendly to this guy, never knew he had a thing for her. And we find out at the end that it was all just his twisted, like, I'll save you from all this. I know you're trapped in a loveless marriage. And I know, because maybe he was bullied when they were children by Mitch and still sees Mitch as this bully, but Mitch has largely turned over a new leaf as an adult and become
Yeah.
basically a good guy and a good boss and a solid citizen and all of that. And in most people's eyes, maybe atoned for it, but not in Mr. Crazy. And all of that would
Mhm.
have just been, again, even more sensational and just more heightened and electric.
It's
And
more
I could have really
theatrical,
dialed in
yeah.
with that. Yeah, very
Yeah.
soap opera, but I mean, a lot of great horror
More
is. Oh,
gay energy, yeah.
there you
I think that
go.
I know that Patrick Dempsey can play up the gay energy for
Oh,
sure.
100%. That's another thing.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think he gave as good as he could in this film. So I don't think it's a bad performance at all. But I do wish
Yeah.
you had Patrick Dempsey. We've seen in Scream 3, he can do creepy unintentionally in that movie,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
or he's a red herring, so creepy.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, so let him be as creepy as he can be. Let him flip out at the end and really just
Yeah.
monologue Pamela Voorhees style, or let's find out there's another layer built in like April Fool's Day. That kind of stuff.
Mhm.
That's what I want.
Do you think that knowing that there's a sequel, is it going to be him coming back all charred, or is it just going to be like a new mystery with like new characters?
I honestly don't know what I'd prefer. I mean, again, because I'm saying at this moment,
Yeah.
let Patrick Dempsey go full tilt crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe bring him back, let him be even crazier, let him be like, the charred,
I
like
agree.
just
Yeah.
even angrier. Yeah, 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 yeah. But
Yeah.
also in that vein, play it up even more nice and mild-mannered when he's around
Yeah.
people, the kind of guy that no one would ever doubt, but that it could take such a sinister turn once people start suspecting him of things, like whoever's at the core of the next film, if they don't know that he's a bad guy, if they
Mhm.
start realizing it, he can have like covert moments where he just kind of side-eyes them and winks, and
Yeah.
grins, maliciously, because you're the only person who knows who's going to believe you kind of thing. That would be delicious. I would love
Um,
that.
I did want to, because you kept mentioning this, so I just wanted to give my 2 cents on it because you were talking about, comparisons to the trailer, and we don't want to make a whole bunch of them here because this is a
Sure.
separate entity. But one thing that was like another disappointment for me was the fact that there were these set pieces that were recreated in the
Yes.
movie.
Yes.
Namely the trampoline scene was one
Yes.
of them. Probably like the biggest standout. There's also like the table and like the where everyone's sitting around at the end.
With the
And it
body
felt
trussed
like,
up like a turkey. Yeah.
yeah, and it felt like, I go back to the Carrie, the Brian De Palma Carrie,
Oh.
to the 2013 Carrie remake comparisons, especially when you take my favorite scene from that movie, which is the detention outside, where Betty Buckley is just like really laying into
Yeah.
the girls, and then in this remake version from 2013, it's Judy Greer, who normally I love, but she's just
Hmm.
talk about a flat performance, which is no fault of her own, but it's just
No.
like that's up to you, Chris. That's up to Ellie, and just like literally taking the scene that is just so fabulous in the original,
Yeah.
and in an attempt to just make it different, you make
Hmm.
it less interesting, you make it flatter, you make it boring. And it
Hmm.
felt like in this case with Thanksgiving that all of those great moments and set pieces from the Thanksgiving trailer were being used here, but it's just like, well, we can't do it exactly the same, so we're going to do it different. But in doing so, it's just less interesting. It just falls flat. And I think one thing that was really great about the trampoline section in the trailer is like it just
Yeah.
sort of ends with like she spreads her legs and it cuts before we see like the knife go down. And here instead what we get is more of like the House of Wax with like the knife cutting into the
Yeah.
foot tendons and stuff like that, which is just not as interesting to me. And then she just
No.
falls, and then you just see the knife going in and out, and it just
Hmm.
felt like, where that was kind of like creating this emotion in the trailer of just like, oh my God, like that's shocking. Here it's just sort of like, well, you've already seen it, so we're just gonna, do it like half-assed.
Yeah, but okay, and sorry, the trailer. Because in the trailer, it's so playful, like because she's showing off her naked body, while she's doing it. So there's something like again, kind of coquettishly, making fun of, but also, creating an homage to the frivolous nudity of movies of the 70s and 80s, of like promiscuous teen girls and everything like that.
Mhm.
So again, there's a playful nature that I respond to. I watched that because I watched the mock trailer after I watched the feature, and I was grinning ear to ear when that moment happened. I thought, oh, it seems so much more like Sinister done wrong. And I don't mean Sinister the movie, but I mean just trying to create a sinister
Bagul.
feel. Yeah, trying to create a. If Bagul had been jumping on that trampoline, no, but I mean, it just like or I'll use the word malice again, just to carry more like more malice and more just kind of darkness with it. Like, we're supposed to be more scared of the knife as opposed to focusing on this, flirty girl who's on a
Mhm.
trampoline exposing her body to her teenage boy counterpart. And I mean, again, it was kind of interesting seeing his head turned around. I was like, oh, all right, you don't see that every day. But it was missing something. But I'm also glad that you uh brought that up because it made me think about another thing that happens with that character. Because she's the one who ends up in the wine fridge, right? The one who was
Yes.
on the trampoline. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't remember her name, but anyway, she's
Cheerleader, I think that's all they call
cheerleader.
her.
Okay, so
Yeah.
cheerleader. She wasn't even a character, and I didn't even notice. I'm like, oh, has she been with the group the whole time? I don't know.
Look, she
But
might
sh
have a name, but I'm just looking at this cast list, and it's
yeah,
like, if here's a blonde whose name is Amy. Maybe that's who
maybe
it
that's
was.
her. I don't
Yeah.
know. Does anybody know?
Yeah.
Nobody knows. Anyway, so but she ends up in the wine fridge and everything like that, and that's where when again Kathleen, the presumably kind of perceived wicked stepmother of it all. Oh
Mhm.
God, let's talk about that in a second. But anyway, she's been kind of like dressed and brushed with butter and everything like that. I also love that okay, sorry, just tangent. I love that he's like brushing butter up her face, like the middle of her face, over her nose, and then across her, like just above her eyebrows on her T zone. There's not a lot of meat. I'm banging a pen on my T-zone. You're not gonna get a lot of flesh there. So I'm just like, shouldn't she be turned the other way? Or is he not, does he not want to have to worry about basting her like
Yeah.
every few minutes? So that's why she's going to be
I
baking,
mean, I feel
where
that it's
her
just
hindquarters
more
are.
because there is a giallo aspect to this film, which is,
Sure.
part of an element that I like about it. So I feel like, stuff like that is always like hypersexualized. So it's almost
Right.
like more of like this erotic, like basting her in butter and like
Her
putting it over her
thigh,
face. Yeah.
right. But she ends up getting up and she finds the wine, and that's when the cheerleader reaches for her and everything like
Mm.
that. And she's just kind of like, I'll be right back, I'll be right back. I'm like, no, you won't. And then the cheerleader, we next time we see her, last time we see her, I believe, is at the dinner table set where everybody else is like bound and gagged, and she's just there with this like spigot in her neck.
Well, he
And
puts
he,
the corkscrew in. He's just like,
yeah,
let's start this meal off with a cheer,
right. So he
and
just
then
like
fills it
gets
up
a
with
wine
beer.
glass full of her blood. And the whole
Mm.
time I'm watching it, I'm thinking like, this blood is the same color as cranberry. Why couldn't we make cranberry sauce out of her? Like I'm just thinking like thematically, like yeah, I mean, yes, wine is present at the tables of many Thanksgivings and will be,
Mhm.
every year. But do I associate, like off the top of my head, like wine with Thanksgiving? Not really.
Mhm.
Not the way I associate pumpkin pie, not the way I associate, we got the turkey covered, but like
Yeah.
mashed potatoes and gravy and stuffing and like couldn't we have done something with that? Like I don't know, something about like going to the wine when so many other dishes had been missed. I was just kind of like, let's think outside the box, guys. Again, talking about the creativity. Let's get creative. Let's get really sick. Let's have a
Yeah.
table set of human body parts that have a Thanksgiving twist on them. Let's make it as sick as we can. And I
Hmm.
mean, that seems largely up Eli Roth's, alley.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a disappointment just in terms of like, I don't know if it was a budget thing or if it just never occurred to them or if they had all these ideas that they just couldn't commit to
That
budget-wise,
part
you
of the
know?
movie did feel a little rushed to me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be, but I mean, there is this idea that like he was just getting the heads and putting them at this table.
Hmm.
But it also kind of like speaks like what is the plan? Because it felt like a lot of the plan was largely based on her, Jessica, getting the information to him
Right.
of just like who are like maybe possible, um, people that I've missed on my kill list here. So yeah,
Right.
there's like it did you do wonder about that because it's just like he had the I guess the upper half of the diner waitress, but he
Yeah.
left the other part of the
On the top
legs.
of the
This
the warehouse or whatever. Yeah, on this
yeah,
on the marquee.
yeah.
Yeah, but again, like if it's called Thanksgiving, you would imagine that like the quote unquote Thanksgiving dinner of it all would largely be the, pardon the pun, centerpiece.
Mhm.
And it kind of isn't at all. Which again, that's kind of disappointing. I mean, if Texas Chainsaw Massacre can go there and make dinner as iconic as they are, like you have it all set for you. Like make the table setting like the most excruciating and the most horrifying,
Yeah.
chilling, or even the most fun, entertaining thing of your movie.
Yeah, it did. I mean, the movie does largely feel like it has that Scream 6 pacing
Mm.
where it's just like they're always just trying to get to the next scene and the next
Hmm.
kill and all this, and we're not really spending enough time like really with like again, it goes back to the intention of it all, and
Uh-huh.
we're not like crafting a through line here. We're just sort of like throwing in all these set pieces that I guess like might be exciting, but don't
Hmm.
actually add up to anything. And yeah, I agree that should be the big finale at
Hmm.
this table that's been set. And it just feels like, no, we got to get out of here because she has to get away and then end up at this less interesting location in a
Yeah.
factory so this can all happen. And I mean, you can end up in the like there can be a chase that ensues and end up in the factory, but like why do we need like the passage of time for like all the police to get there and investigate it?
Hmm.
It's just like there could have been a more fun unmasking of just sort of like once we get to the thing. I like that whole bit with the those sticky fluffy things. Like that was sort of like the tell of just
Oh,
like how
on
she
on her
figured it out.
boots and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
or
which
her
I felt
pants,
was just
whatever.
it was so actually that reminded me of the new I Know What You Did Last Summer because there was that scene at the very end where Ava has like she's at Ray's bar with him
Right.
and spoilers for I Know He Did Last Summer. Skip ahead a minute,
Yeah.
where she just like has this like flash of a memory of, because I guess he had like a bandage on, but it was like barely noticeable because it happened so quick, and she like slashed him, and that's how she figured it out. And you have this scene here where it's like, okay, cool. There was like a brief glimpse of her feet running past those things, but not enough to like really sell it. And then she's just picking the stuff off, and then she sees his boots have them on it too. And it's just like it's just such a flimsy way to like sort of like reveal him as the killer. Like you didn't have to do that. His like she could have like had an axe or something and like smacked him in the head, and the mask could have gone flying off.
Hmm.
Or he could have just revealed himself to them of his own volition, when he was ready. Because
Yeah.
even like as it is, I don't get his, I mean, I guess he's trying to frame Bobby, but it's still the work wasn't done to
No.
make it happen, you
Mm-mm.
know. And again, like the new Scream movie of Scream 6, where it's just like, who are you framing? You're an anonymous person who doesn't exist because they saw this on a Reddit thread. Okay. I think
Yeah.
at that point you need to go back and maybe develop the story a little bit better.
Right. Oh, I love something that Amethyst said here about like, yeah, Amy is the cheerleader. We'll forget this in 5 minutes. We will,
Thank
but
you. Yeah.
I will definitely forget it by tomorrow morning. But no, Zach, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that was another thing that largely felt kind of like a holdover from Scream because it felt the most Scream-like in nature. It actually didn't feel like Pamela Voorhees, going like, Mrs. Voorhees, an old friend of the Christies, It just felt like, okay, and the killer is now, going to like make himself clear and be like, this is who I am and this is why I did it in a much less like emotionally connected kind of way, in a much more like kind of like I'm Ghostface and here was my plan and here's why I did it. I mean, there's a different energy. He's
Mhm.
not gazing off into the sunset going the love of my life, like he I wish even just like from the direction standpoint that like somebody could have told Patrick Dempsey like make up your mind whether this really happened or whether it didn't and really play it up to that. Like we need to have a dawning just if the rest of the movie remained the way it was, we need to have like a dawning kind of like
Mhm.
realization either like oh shit, this guy's crazy. He never had an affair with Gina
Mhm.
Gershon without ever having, like a reveal of that. Just show us how crazy you are and show us all the things you're. Maybe if he got like some facts wrong and maybe if he even started calling Jess, what was Gina Gershon's name? Amanda?
Amanda, yeah.
What if he started calling her Amanda at some point, like he really went off the deep end? I mean, because like again, Mrs. Voorhees, the reason we know she's crazy because she keeps going, "I won't, Jason. I won't." I mean,
Yeah.
we're like, "Oh fuck, she's nuts."
Yeah.
But um, there's no fun to be had in that. Oh, and
Yeah.
I did want to
Can
say just
I
on it. Go ahead, please, please,
I
please,
just
please.
want to say something that I do like
Okay.
about the reveal scene.
Yes.
Um, because this was a total shock to me. And normally I hate anything to do with like cell phones or streaming or technology and movies because it
Oh,
just like I feel like it dates your movie. I mean, this might seem current now, but like give it 20 years and like, oh, this is just gonna be embarrassing. But when she says, like, I just wanted to tell you what I'm thankful for, and then reveals that she's been live streaming the whole thing,
sure.
loved that. That was a great detail. I did not see
Hmm.
that coming. So
Yeah,
kudos to the script for that.
that was pretty
I
cool.
I do appreciate that.
Well, I even appreciated prior to that when there were kills happening that he was broadcasting on
And
his
everyone was
Instagram or
liking
whatever,
and
and
hearting
everyone
and
was
all that.
liking it. I was just
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, on one hand, I could be of two minds about it. If somebody doesn't like it, I get it because it does feel kind of like predictable, bleak Eli Roth bullshit, toxic stuff. But on the other hand, does that make it any less real? Like, it's sadly as the years go on that becomes more and more plausible that people are gonna like either watch things and not believe they're real, so they're gonna like them, not
Yeah.
care whether they're real or not because it's just a reflexive reaction. Again, that's the word of the night, reflexive. It's just to kind of like hit the like button. Because sometimes I'll like stuff and I'll
Yeah.
wonder like, is it weird that I'm because it'll be like talking about like some kind of injustice or something that I hate that exists, but I always have to tell myself, well, what is the account doing? Is the account aggrandizing it, or is the account just exposing or sharing the information that like this happened and it sucks? I'm liking the fact that it's being shared. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Grant
Sometimes.
is Grant is saying kind of like Texas Chainsaw 2022. I think that I only saw it once, but I do recall that being a thing of like
Right,
live
right, right.
streaming as like Leatherface is like
Oh
coming
my
out of the
God, is
house.
this real?
Yeah.
But yeah, what is this saying Amethyst the live stream? But so yeah, I mean, again, but because I mean, it's funny to bring up Texas Chainsaw 2022. Maybe that one even had a little bit more of a point of view. I know that, and we won't go into it, but I just remember that
Yeah.
that director being from Texas largely wanted to kind of like make something that felt like it was of his home state and
Yeah.
like something that, had a POV and something to say. And I'd argue it did more so than this did.
I'll
Do you
just
think?
say this of
Yeah.
any time for anyone listening, for any, a film goer, a filmmaker,
Hmm.
that is thinking about like just having some sort of like live stream or interactive component to the story.
Yeah.
I always go back to Halloween Resurrection. And I go back to the party with Deckard and just
Yes.
like all I mean it's already such a boring fucking movie as it is. But
Hmm.
now we're cutting back to like these people and the French maid there and then the one dude from Freddy versus Jason and they're just like, "Oh my God, this is not funny anymore, guys. This is a joke. That can't be real." Like they're obviously they're not doing it to that extent here with like the
No.
thumbs up, but when I watch a movie, I like to know, especially in a horror movie, that what's happening is like it exists in its own world.
Hmm.
I think like the fun of going to a movie is to escape reality. And sure, there's lots of movies that are intentionally supposed to be set in the real world and
Hmm.
be like everyday, like you or I or what's going on here. But I prefer, like, I like to see movies that close off the rest of the world and are not concerned about what's going on outside of it.
Mm.
And anytime there's sort of like a window into an audience or something that's just like, okay, we're live streaming, this is happening, it makes the movie feel smaller in a way
Mm.
where it's just like, okay, I understand that this is like, I'm not thinking about the story anymore. I'm now thinking about my phone. Here I'm sitting in a theater, I'm thinking about my own phone. I'm
Hmm.
thinking about the internet. I'm thinking about all this stuff. And it's just like, I don't want to think about that. I want to think about the story that you are telling here. And
Hmm.
when stuff like that happens or just like occurs in movies, instantly I always forget about the story. I'm more focused on something else now. Even if it's just for a second
Yeah.
that it like throws you off course, I feel like that hurts a movie.
Interesting. Like it's making me remember something Heather Langenkamp said when she was discussing her part in the Nightmare Saga at large
Mm.
and Robert Englund's and about the relationship the two of them have. I won't spend too much time lingering on it, but I will say, because you're using the word size in terms of like, like kind of like the more isolated something it is, the larger it can feel. And I think it's because like ultimately, if it comes down to one force against another force, ooh, remind me to talk about that. But what about, like the perceived evil and the perceived good, like batting, against each other. And uh I remember Heather Langenkamp talking about like we talk about it in terms of like the eternal. She and Robert Englund talked about it in terms of the eternal fight, but the struggle between good and evil with no equivocation. Like there is a clear cut hero and a clear cut villain, and because those concepts in and of themselves are so outsized and seem to be representative of, like a history of fighting oppression and a history of like inflicting on people. Maybe that's what it is that makes something so interpersonal feel so outsized, as opposed to something where I'm wondering, because I mean, I don't. Why did I just think about Jawbreaker? Because even that has an exposure
Mhm.
to it, but it's all within the prom, So it's not like they
Yeah.
broadcast it to like the whole town that they lived in or to the world
Yeah.
or even to the internet
But
or
but
anything.
I
It
would
was
argue
just,
with
yeah.
Jawbreaker is that the whole movie is presents the school as a character. We
Yeah.
see it like there's a very specific thing that Darren Stein does in
Hmm.
like the art direction of that film, like the wardrobes that people are wearing. Like nobody actually looks like a high schooler in that movie.
Right.
Nobody's like walking around with backpacks. They've got purses, they've got their own little thing. So it's like in a way, like we see all these like characters that are like reoccurring throughout that movie.
Right.
And so it just feels like this organism that exists in and of itself.
Right.
You're not like even when they go outside of the school, like it's very much like they're not in big crowded areas with people. There's not all these like other characters. It's still very much linked to the idea of like this socioeconomic thing that exists where they're like on the hierarchy and
Sure.
nothing else like because if you start to think outside of the world, there's like more powerful people than Courtney Shane and whatever.
Sure.
And like, we see that in a sense of like when the Pam Grier detective comes in and
Yeah.
she's like this outlier who's like, and that's a issue in that movie because that doesn't really go anywhere. But
But she's largely also like
yeah,
a character from a movie as well. So it's like
yeah,
everything, nothing ever really detours from Planet Jawbreaker in that movie. Like
exactly.
the
Yeah.
closest thing to realism, or not, maybe not even realism, but to like an eye forward, like outside of the high school scenario, is I think one of the funniest lines in the movie when Judiker says, "She's so evil." And she's only in high school. See, that's a thing. Maybe that's another thing that's missing for me, even though there are every now and then in the production design, I can see an attempt to kind of like evoke an autumnal feel.
Mhm.
But it's not, it doesn't establish a world. I don't see this movie and just kind of like feel like I understand intuitively what it is to live in this version of Plymouth, Massachusetts. It's not its own character. And it would be nice if it felt like that. If it just were a little bit more sharply defined, because I know you mentioned, and we've been talking about a lot about the script. For me, the editing of this also, I think, detracts. Particularly, it's not the action sequences, like the set pieces with the kills and everything like that, I feel are actually staged and filmed really, really well.
Mhm.
I think it's just the it's seen as interstitial exchanges between characters, especially like once we reestablish everybody a year later. There is absolutely no flow. There is such an undeniable choppiness to the way we're picking up clues about like where people are now and where the movie's going to go from here on out. And I found it really, really hard to kind of get back on board
Yeah.
with like, okay, so what's going to happen? And I don't think I got back on board until we were in the diner and that kill with the waitress was happening. And then I felt like again we were in a kill, so all of a sudden like the minuscule like the things that were happening, like the fact that like I get to focus on her face fusing with the
Mhm.
freezer door and all that kind of stuff. All of a sudden there's something to envelop me but
Yeah.
the lives of the characters are just kind of an afterthought.
Just because you mentioned it, I hate the fact that she runs into the office and locks herself in the room, and then
Oh,
she can't she's got the blood all over her hands, can't open the phone,
right,
can't do
right.
the facial recognition,
Yeah.
but she like waits like 20 seconds, if that, and then goes back outside,
Right.
and it's just like there's clearly, I mean, unless it's established that like he cut the phone lines too, there's clearly a phone, a
Hmm.
landline right there.
Hmm.
Like I just hate this idea, like just characters being stupid for no reason. Same
Sure.
thing with Gail in Scream 6 when she locks herself in the bedroom and then decides to go out of the
Oh,
bedroom. It's
Jesus
just like
Christ. Don't
like
get me started.
do better, do better.
Oh, because also, I mean, again, even the fact that like, while I'm talking about, I love her face fusing to the freezer door. If it had, I couldn't stop thinking, and it pulled me out for a second,
Yeah.
just in terms of like, oh, she's trying to swipe, she's trying to get the facial recognition, but it's not recognizing her face. Doesn't it solely kind of focus on your T zone when you're doing? Because that's why you have to do it kind of like underneath your face
You're
so
really
much.
into
If
the
you,
T-zone talk
yeah,
today.
that's the other term
Um,
tonight. But isn't there like
I've definitely
if you had
like
a piece of your face like off
yeah,
your
I think that
cheek?
there's I don't think that it would ignore your face, but even then it's just like calm down, like get a rag or something, like wipe your
Mm-hmm.
phone, use your
Yeah.
other hand that's not
Exactly.
bloody, like and there's something to be said for like panicking and like making bad choices or just
Of
not thinking,
course.
but you're never gonna like leave the safety of the
Yeah.
room where you are to go do something else. But anyway, that minor gripe compared to like the other stuff going on in the
Sure,
movie.
sure.
One detail, I'll try to counterbalance it. Something that I did like when he killed the security guard who has the
Oh,
cat,
Manny. I knew you were
Manny.
going to bring this up. I
I
thought about you.
No, because it was just like I love little details like that where he's just going to leave and he's just like,
Yep.
oh no, I'm gonna feed the cat, and then even pets it, and it kind of endears you to this killer, in the sense that it's just like, okay, you're just killing off these shitty people, but like, let's take care of the animals, make sure that they're well looked
He's not
after.
an instrument of destruction that is like indiscriminate. It's like,
Yeah.
well, the cat didn't do anything and it deserves to be fed. So I thought about Silence of the Lambs and you when I saw that happen. I was just gonna like, that cat will not
I
starve.
always love to be thought of in the same thought process as Precious and Buffalo.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
That was also a really great head mold of Manny when I think he was the first decapitated head we
Yeah,
saw on the table in the Instagram post or whatever app it was. Was it
yeah.
Instagram?
It was Instagram. I
Okay.
think so. I don't know. Maybe it was like
I think
Insta Slam
it
or
was
something.
supposed to be Instagram, so yeah, that thing. When they were posting on social media, that was one thing where I was just kind of like, really good work. Like I tilted my head a little bit just to kind of
Mhm.
go like the glassiness over the eyes and the look of shock that's frozen on the face. It looks like it carries weight. I was just like, okay,
Mhm.
that's admirable. Um, but and again, like I giveth, I taketh away. There was a comment that they were getting about like the copying. What was that? When fucking the Jockey Jockerson, what's his name? Is that
Evan.
Evan? Evan, thank you.
Yeah,
Not Devin Evans, but Evan.
Evan.
When Evan is there, and he gets like I don't know the name of the little dorky kid who he made do his homework for him, and the kid
Hmm.
just copied off of what the teacher wrote on her vlog or
Blog.
whatever
Yeah.
her yeah
Yeah.
or blog, and he made a comment or somebody made a comment when they were walking away, just kind of like, "Oh, we're gonna get sued. I think we're gonna get killed before. Luckily, we'll probably get killed before we get sued for plagiarism." And then someone says, "Well, plagiarism is serious." And I was just kind of like, "So we're not taking it seriously that bodies are dropping and that your friends are at risk and that there's,
Yeah.
a table setting with like your
Yeah.
names on them and
Well, I
everything
mean
like
that
that."
that goes back to
Okay,
the editing because like that whole exchange could have been cut out, like it's
yeah.
just the party that they go to, the house party could have been cut out because it's like
Hmm.
he's offering her like, here, take this knife. No, no. And then like at the parade
Mm.
as
Oh
she's going on the
God.
float, he gives her this thing that
The
she takes. And it's
ring.
just like, why couldn't that have been given here? Why couldn't that, like all this stuff, all these characters that just did not need to exist in this movie.
I also love
And
Jess's reaction. He gives her this ring that, like, help
yeah,
my it was my brother's a brother or
her
father. I don't remember. Some
father's,
fathers in Iraq. He used it, and it was
yeah,
his lucky ring. And she just kind of takes it, like, oh, great. Like it doesn't means
just
nothing for
just to just to
her.
turn out to be the thing that like cuts the rope. Just
Yeah.
very like little conveniences like that. Also,
Oh.
I the when because he was like shooting people with sleeping darts.
Yeah.
And the first time he does it is the cop who's in Yulia's house and then to Yulia's father.
Mm,
And it was so unclear to me that that was a dart. I
mm.
just thought it was like a silence pistol, so he was like shooting these people dead.
Oh, okay.
Um, it wasn't until the parade when he like comes into
All
the
three of them.
car and four
Yeah.
of them
Four of them.
shoots
Okay.
them, and then you can clearly see that it's a dart. They're like, oh, he's like actually been putting them to sleep because I just
Yeah.
assumed that he was like shooting these people left, right, and center, which also felt very like unslashery, but that was not
Yeah.
clear to me. And like especially because like the cop and the father were wearing dark clothing, so like you couldn't
Yeah.
really see like the tail of the arrow or like the little tail of the dart.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like little things like that, that is going to confuse an audience. That is going to throw you.
Yeah.
And that it took that long because that was like so many scenes later to like put it together like, oh, he's not shooting people, because
Mm-hmm.
that even that like you have a killer who's just going around like shooting people with pistols. This no longer is a horror movie. This is now like home invasion,
Mm-hmm.
like like it just has a different tone to it when you
Yeah.
see stuff like that, so you want to be careful that you're not confusing an
Yeah.
audience that way.
There's another
um
thing that actually I thought worked pretty well was when Jess basically like like kneels alongside all those mannequin heads and has to
I
remain
liked that
perfectly
scene.
still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And I also thought that was maybe the most connected acting I saw from Jess in the movie because I mean she actually had something to play. Like there was
Yeah.
fear, but also just like restraint. Like, you know, you have to have
Yeah.
discipline and not shift your body. And even while she was reaching for the thing, I wondered like, well, wouldn't she feel the can like if we're gonna fall over? I know something's got to happen. Maybe it wouldn't happen that way, but
Yeah.
there was an actual tension that was going on in
Mm.
that particular sequence that I
It,
appreciated.
what the thing that I got from that is like, A, it felt like it was over a little too soon, but
Yeah.
also like we spent more time out in the school hallways and like all I can think is like this is such an uninteresting school.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that there's like this esthetician lab in the middle of it is like that is interesting to me. And like had it been like a bigger department or like maybe they weren't at the school but they were at another location where
Yeah.
this had happened, I think that that would have been cooler because I think I don't know if Eli Roth meant for this to be like an homage to Mute Witness because he was talking about Mute Witness in
Mm.
his interviews before, and I think he mentioned something about like being inspired by that, and that this is the
Oh.
sequence that maybe feels the most like that. So it's just like
100%. Yeah.
in that room, all that stuff was really interesting, especially like turning on the lights and the fluorescent flickering and all that. I thought
Mm-hmm.
was really well done. But like, yeah, just like the fact that we're like wandering through these like boring hallways of the school to get to that thing
Yeah.
kind of like undermined the effectiveness of most of that for me.
Yeah, there was also I this pisses me off that this is still happening. I mean, it's 2 years ago, but it still feels like this day and age.
Mm,
It would have been so easy for Bobby to attempt to try and help or save Jess and for him to get killed in the line of fire. And that would only kind of like lock and load even more determination in her, even more of a threat to her safety, and even more of an opportunity for her to fight with everything she has and try to, you know, for all of them against, against this evil man. But I just felt like I was watching her get saved by him and like the two of them play in a very kind of like, Jason Takes Manhattan, like, well, we need a final couple. No, we don't. I really don't require I wasn't interested in them to begin with. Nothing that transpired between the two of them felt particularly special to me or
mhm.
like it needed to be like
Sorry,
I
which
mean,
two?
huh?
Which
Oh,
two?
Bobby and Jess,
Mm,
since he's like saving ultimately like our final girl. I
yeah.
always take umbrage with that. I always like just let her win the day. Let her defeat the evil, at least in this
Oh, he really
particular.
did. He threw something through a window.
Well, and but he did like grab her and say like this way, and then
Yeah.
run and everything like that. And she's the one who pulled the thing that launched like the big fucking float and everything like that. But I was
Yeah.
just kind of like, I don't want her to have help. I'm really, this is the thing.
Yeah.
People can help her, but ultimately, I want the standoff but to be between,
Yeah.
my final girl and my final evil. And I didn't get that. I felt, but she did get to say a horrible fucking line. Hey, sheriff, you were right. No, leftovers. It was right up there with, hey,
Yeah.
Jason, say hi to mommy in hell for me.
But that is like that has like this like escalation to it. Like that, I enjoy that line. Um, but I think the thing that's like more annoying here is that she already did a thing where she was sort of like turning his words on him
Right.
before it might have even happened like two or three times. So it just felt like, oh, is this just their dynamic? Like she's just parroting what he says at this point. Um, mostly I
It's
just don't like
Thanksgiving.
like
We're
the
all entitled to a one good
one.
scare.
Yeah. Well, I mean, mostly I just the again going back to the triangle, the love triangle between
Oh,
the three of them. It's
Jesus.
just like
Yeah.
it's so pointless. Like one of them could have been killed off
Yeah.
because yeah, that could have raised the stakes. But like also for like this whole thing, only for him to be like, well, tell Ryan he's still a dick. For this guy to come, like, what? I don't see like why she would even want to be dating either one of them. They don't seem particularly appealing to me,
No, it
either
feels like because they're
or.
there. It's because they're there.
They're there. Um, they're there.
Which we've been there. We've all been there. I won't
I
judge, but
but this is a thing, like, it would have been interesting if it was like maybe a final boy, because like, and this is nothing against
mm,
the actress. I think she has like very expressive eyes. That's one thing that I noticed
mhm,
about her, but it's just a boring character.
I agree.
That there could have been anything done with it. And again, it goes back to the script. Like they were trying to infuse her with, and this is where I'm talking about like, oh, let's just hit all of the
Hmm.
the beats
Dead
from like
mom. Dead
Scream,
mom. Yeah.
where we're just like, okay, so she has a locket and she's saying goodnight to it. Like her boyfriends aren't answering the phone, but like mom's there to like comfort her. And it's just like, it's
Right.
so surface level. Like it's not, there's nothing ingrained into the context of the story of so what this dead mother represents, or even her relationship with the stepmother, which I know you had something that you wanted to
Right, right, right,
say,
right, right.
so we'll get to that next. Um, but it just feels very much like, even going further back, like the old Disney movies where it's like the mother was always dead. So it's just sort of
Yeah.
like it's just like, okay, that'll do the work for us, and like that works for Disney cartoons because that's not really it's just sort of like a backstory thing, but it's not like the driving force of what's propelling the character forward and like what they're doing.
Hmm.
So I mean, how did the mom die? Did the mom die in this musket incident? Like, it brings,
Oh my God, that would have been hilarious if she would have killed her own mother like on
yeah,
accident by firing off this musket that she had no control of. I
yeah,
mean, again, it's silly, but if we were doing kind of like a more like, mock trailer version of this movie, that would have been
yeah,
hilarious. I could see Anna
yeah,
Faris playing a final girl who's just gonna like, I was loading the musket and then I fired and my mom was dead, like kind of thing.
yeah.
But and I'd
Even
still feel bad for her.
Yeah. Even Amethyst is bringing up the Disney princess dead mother
Yes.
thing. So yeah, it's like everyone is, I think it's just like it's something we have to do. But let's talk about the stepmom, because she's actually one of the more interesting characters in the movie. And I don't know if you realize this, that okay, so the actress's name is Karen. I don't think her last name is Cliche, but it's spelled Cliche without
Oh,
the
okay. Cleach, maybe?
Cliche.
Cleach,
Yeah.
maybe.
Karen Cliche. Is she a Karen Cliche?
Oh my
But
God, that works as a phrase. Don't
she
become some Karen cliche. Go on.
do you recognize her from Saw 6?
No.
She is one of the carousel
Oh my
victims.
God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I did not recognize her. But oh my God.
Yeah.
But she also has just like a very kind of like, she looks like a person, just like a person. So,
Well, I
so
recognized her immediately.
well,
Like
you're
I'll
better
be
than I
honest.
am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, so I mean, she wasn't, I don't remember her acting like terribly like,
Shelby was the character. She was one
okay.
of the two who was spared. Yeah.
Wow.
Didn't
Okay.
do so well in this movie,
Can't wait
in
to
terms
see
of
that
Roth.
movie
Yeah.
again now. No, and actually, you know what? I liked her performance. I know that we're not supposed to like her and stuff like that, but this is one case where I felt like I could see what the plan was with the family at large. It just didn't,
Mhm.
again, it just didn't quite send me. I don't think it sailed. But we set up the family dynamic where she seems to kind of like be saying things that are obviously like kind of like little jabs and digs at her stepdaughter, and her stepdaughter doesn't want to be around her and probably doesn't know why her father chose to be with her. And they even put in that scene with Jess and her father where he says something about like, this is the gist. I was lonely and there was a girl there and I was like, why not? But I never really thought about the details of her personality and how she would treat you. I was so busy just trying to put a band-aid over my own loneliness and probably my own horniness. Let's, not be naive about this. But I never really thought about you in the equation, and I want you to know I'm sorry. And she took this apology to heart and even embraced him and then left. And then nothing really came of it. But see, this is the thing. Or did it? Because I was wondering when that happened, I was just like, well, that was random. What the fuck is that there for? But then the next time we see him, I believe, is when
Mhm.
they're all seated around the table, and he sees the body of his second wife all trussed up like a turkey and everything like that, and he knows
Yeah.
that it's her, and he sees like her thigh being cut and everything like that, and he's going to be served, and he has to eat it and everything, even though he's gagged, but he's like full on vomiting from
Yeah.
the
We
Yeah.
Correction, we actually do see him before that. So
Oh,
there's
do
the
we?
scene like it's before the parade, but after
Oh,
Yulia is killed because there's sort of like they congregate in the Jessica's house, like, his living room, and all the cops are there and they're kind of like talking about the plan of like I guess the sting
okay.
operation. And he announces, he's like, we're closing the store on
That's
Thanksgiving.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
Okay. So
that's sort
finally,
of that's the through line.
right. So, okay. So finally, like, so, but basically, like, so the next time we see him, it's like he's finally, I don't know about atoning for what he did, but certainly taking enough responsibility to not perpetuate it any further. So it's like, okay, well, at least that's kind of in the plus column. It's like the mayor deciding, let's close the beaches in Jaws, you know? Like,
Yeah.
if he had done that, then, you know, maybe there wouldn't have been any more killing. But I like the fact that, like, there seemed to be a mindfulness about us visiting him and seeing him witness his wife there at the table, and maybe they were worried it wouldn't be enough just to see him have an emotional reaction and a very, you know, kind of, uh, I don't know, gut reaction, no other way to put it, just with vomit. But like watching his, you know, wife there, and maybe they wanted to build up more. I don't know about sympathy, but just more of an ability to kind of feel something for the man. And maybe if we saw him apologize to his daughter for not considering her and the choices that would affect the whole family, that dynamic, and then shutting down the store, and then finally still having to pay through the nose for it. Maybe they were worried about making him a little bit more of a character that we were at least interested in, as opposed to someone who we wanted to see punished. So I appreciated that. Was it the most effective way to do it? No, but it occurred to me.
Yeah.
So that's that. As far
There
as,
was
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
there was definitely an attempt made to, I guess, make some of these people a little more sympathetic. One of the deleted scenes
Mm,
was it occurs before Evan and Gabby are abducted. So right before that whole thing and like the with the mannequin heads and all that, because he's freaking out because the game's been canceled
hmm
or needs to be rescheduled, and he goes off to pout in his car, and that's where Gabby's like, "Oh, I'll go get him," and then we miss
mm.
the whole thing. We just see them kind of lovingly walk back into the school. So there's like this whole bit where he's in the car and he's just talking about how it's almost like I wish I'd never, you know, made that video. Like it's almost like there
Right.
was like a breadcrumb of like
Remorse.
him. Yeah. And then but in doing so, the Addison Rae character is just like, you sound like a pussy right now. Stop being a
Oh dear
pussy. So it was
God.
almost like that scene in a way, it's just like it elevated his moral compass and lowered hers. And maybe that's why they were like, okay, we don't need this right now. Let's
Oh.
like leave it how it is.
But even if it doesn't like make them more
Yeah.
sympathetic, it certainly dimensionalizes them. Like you're just kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
well, there's a person there. Doesn't mean I have to like them, but I can see someone who has, you know, has contradictions going on inside them and who can
Yeah.
learn and who might want to change and might make, you
Yeah.
know, steps toward changing. And that's interesting to me. But
Yeah.
in terms of, and it's even there for me, I think in terms of Kathleen, maybe in a more I don't know, microscopic level, but, or maybe not even that, but subtextual, because we do seem to kind of see her painted as a villain largely for most of her screen time, certainly with our final girl, who we're supposed to be sympathizing with. But
Yeah.
I liked the fact that, like, when she woke up on the table while she's having like butter brushed on her, she was smart enough not to try and move and just to kind of like lay there and just play dead, you know, play possum, and then get off the table when this, oh, that was another thing though, just like watching this character do all of this with the mask on. I know we're not supposed to know who it is yet, but I'm trying to think of, I never think about this with Michael Myers, but I was just thinking like, you have no peripheral vision. Like you were you were an impediment to your own progress in creating this meal by wearing this mask while you were doing what you're doing. Well, this is
Mhm.
so dumb. But anyway, so she
Yeah.
hides and then even like, you know, fights back a little bit, makes her way to the wine fridge, finds the girl, and when the girl clutches her, I like the fact that I mentioned before, she's just kind of like, I'll come back for you. I'll just be quiet. He's right over there. I'll come back for you.
Mhm.
I like that I believed her. I was like, okay. And even if it's not you personally, you're not going to forget her. You're going to send somebody in after
Mhm.
her. But right now, the most important thing is like, don't get killed. Then again, as quickly as it was kind of granted to me, I feel like it was all taken away when she woke up in the oven because doesn't she get knocked out and then he puts her in the oven and that's
Yeah,
where
well,
she wakes
he's
up?
like she's getting out the door and he like drags her back in. He
Right,
might have
right.
like
Oh,
thrown
right.
something at her, like
I don't even
pitched
remember.
something into her back. I don't remember.
Oh, maybe it was the axe. Maybe that was the axe. I don't
Yeah,
remember. Anyway,
probably.
something. Anyway, so she, yeah, he dragged her in. That was painful
Yeah.
because at one point, like you saw, I feel like there was like a stream of a slight stream of blood. So you're like, oh, something on her is wounded right now. Ow, ooh.
Hmm.
And they just show the ground. But when she's in the oven, this is where they kind of lost me because I was back in, you know, and then she's in the oven laying there and he like opens it up to like do whatever he does and she doesn't fight back. She just kind of lays there screaming, freaking out because the things are getting hot already.
Yeah.
And he opens it up, does something, I don't even remember what, and then closes the door. And I'm just kind of like, roll, punch, kick,
You
get the
need like
fuck out of
the
the.
Texas Chainsaw the Next Generation where like the girl is like put in the thing, but like every time like
Oh, and she keeps getting
Leatherface turns
out.
her, yeah, and he's just like,
Heather,
no, I'm gonna put, yes,
yes.
yeah.
See, that's the thing is, I don't. That's the thing. I don't need like an army of final girls or anything like that. I wouldn't
Mm,
object to that. But I also don't need, the final girl to be the only one who fights back. I would love to see just like a little grit and
Tatum,
determination. Yeah, a
yeah,
little bit of Tatum in her. Because that's the other thing. Is like the scariest thing to me is when you do everything right and you're still fucked. And if
hmm,
she would have just kind of like punched, rolled, ran, and then didn't know there was some kind of like thing set up, some kind of plan in place, or if he just happened to injure her enough so that she had to
yeah,
limp so he could catch up with her more easily, and then we have to watch her get dragged again, or something, like, I mean, come on, escalate again, like kind of like with what we've been describing in terms of the creativity and exploring the possibilities with these set pieces. The stage is set, take advantage of it,
yeah,
really give it to us.
yeah.
And they gave some.
Amethyst is reminding us through the pitchfork into her back when she got
That's
out of the
right.
house. He
And the
puts the
thermometer.
thermometer into her when he
That's
opens
what
the
he
door.
does.
And then Grant saying he remembers being surprised by how long and involved her death scene was. I did not expect that character to end up having that kind of death scene, like Wendy ending up with a big chase scene in prom night. There's actually, I don't think it's a deleted scene because I was skipping through some of them, but I feel like this whole section there's an extended scene to it on the
Mm,
Blu-ray because it was like going for like 9 or 10 minutes, and I'm like, this largely feels like the same. It might just be more hiding that was cut out of it.
mm.
But yeah, we do spend a lot of time with her, and I wish it was just again like a more interesting location or just using the location in a more interesting way.
Yeah, absolutely. Just
Hmm.
more emphatic moments. Like it's a lot of
Yeah,
time, but we could have used that time more to the movie's
yeah.
advantage. But I also
Um,
know that I was falling off because I started getting on on the side of John Carver because when he's chasing Jess and what's the boyfriend's name? Scuba.
Cuba,
Uh,
not her boyfriend, but yeah.
yeah, I remember he gets to Scuba and I think he used an axe on his arm, and Scuba fell over, and he was clutching his arm, going, "Ah, I'm out of commission," basically. And so John Carver had to go on chasing after Jess.
Hmm.
But I had a moment where I was just kind of like, "Well, yeah, but you've got his arm. You don't know that he's just going to like lay there. He could still get away. Get the ankle." Get the
Yeah.
ankle. I'm like
Like
cheering
do
on.
more. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
like incapacitate him so he can't escape, then
It's
go after the other one?
there's way too many people that were left alive in this movie. And I think that
Yeah,
that's part of the like the the downfall of just having so many characters and perhaps the hope was to like kill some of them off in the sequel
yeah,
if everyone's coming back. But yeah, it's just like in within that friend group like only Yulia and Evan
yeah,
died, I guess, because and then like both of her
yes.
boyfriends are alive still. You now have this Makati character who's like they're all there at the end when they're just sort of
Right,
like commiserating at the ambulance and like we survived. I'm like, what do you mean? Like you weren't even part of this. Like you just sort of showed up and like you people were like you've been in the hospital or
right,
incapacitated this whole time. Like you
right.
did not experience the trauma that that Jessica did. Um,
I thought
if we
McCarty's
can
name
call it
was
that.
Bacardi.
Bacardi.
Bacardi. I thought they
There's
were
like it's
calling him Bacardi.
a Macati patty.
He's a
See,
he's a
that's
rum
the
factory. That's what
yeah
he is. And I can't do
yeah
Boston, but anyway,
the
or not even Boston, but Massachusetts. I can't do
but then the
it.
movie ends with two cliches
Oh
of
Jesus.
just like and talk about like just the movie not knowing when to end because
Oh.
I'm telling you this is where like you have been watching Thanksgiving the she shoots the thing, it explodes, Patrick Dempsey's
Mm-hmm.
on fire screaming and running
Yep.
around,
Yep.
and then cue the music, credits. You have been
Yep.
watching Thanksgiving, end it right there. We
Yeah.
got the movie, we're good.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we have this ambulance scene of everyone being like, are you
Jesus
okay?
Christ.
Oh my God, I'm still dating you, am I? Okay, cool. My dad's okay. Great. Wait, they couldn't find the body. There's just ashes. What does that mean? So we got the ambulance scene, and then we have a nightmare scene on top of that for a jump
Oh my
scare. And it's just
God.
like just way to end the movie. I mean, I guess it's in line with what most of it is, but it just feels like did you just take it out of the regular playbook? Like you couldn't do.
Ugh.
And that's the thing. You don't have to have anything spectacular. Just do the just explosion credits.
I
Anyway,
just feel,
that's all I have to say about that.
yeah, I just feel like it was them trying to kind of like do like Andy Barclay's final look over his shoulder before the door shuts at the end of Child's Play, or Adrian King's "Then he's still there," and then just kind of like close up on the,
Then do
the,
that.
the
That's
lake and everything
effective
like that.
too.
But I feel
Yeah.
like they were trying because I think the fact that like she opened the door and got pulled in through the flames, because this is what happened, right? She opened the door, got pulled in by the flames, and he's there, but then she wakes up and she just kind of looks at the door and wonders, like, is there something
Yeah.
at the door? And then isn't that the way it ends? Just kind of like her
hmm
looking at the door. I feel like that's what they were trying to do. Like, she'll never
Well, they're
know.
trying to the Friday the 13th or
Ugh,
Carrie of it
right.
all. Just,
You can never really walk away. But
Yeah.
I didn't get that at all. Yeah, it felt very hack and very quick. The only
Yeah.
other thing I have to say is in response to what you did more toward the beginning of the pod. I love that you compared the poster art or the Blu-ray cover art
Yeah.
to the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Because
God,
what I got
yeah.
from the John Carver design in the film, because I was trying to think like, what is he evoking from me? And the first thing I got was the V for Vendetta mask. And which, even
Yeah.
if you haven't seen the movie, everybody knows what that mask looks like. And if you don't, look it up. But the other thing that I thought, it was like, I thought if it was like V for Vendetta had a baby with the old Burger King mascot. You know what I'm talking
Yes. The one that they
about?
banned because he was creepy.
Yeah,
It's
it
but
was like a full
it took them years to figure out that
Mhm.
people found him to be creepy.
It was a full skull like mask with like
Yeah.
hair and everything like that was, chiseled or carved with
Well, it
the
was a face
face.
that
It's
just
just
did
going,
not emote. Like it just had the one expression.
yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
and I mean I'm more emotive than he is, but
Yeah.
yeah, if you look at those two pictures and fuse them together, you get John Carver
Yeah.
100%. So that's another
Yeah.
thing. He just
No, I
reminds
thought
me of other things.
I liked the because like Eli Roth is a big fan of Giallo too. So there are moments where we're not seeing the mask, but just sort of seeing like the hands
Yeah,
or like the character from behind or the boots or things like that that are
right.
effective. Which again, you don't need the mask. You don't need this thing that's gonna fuck up your
Yeah,
periphery.
yeah.
That whole scene with Kathleen could have just been framed without seeing his face, or even like when he took it off, which never
Mm-hmm.
made like he took it off to put it on top of the oven, and then it like burnt it, and then like
Mm-hmm.
what was the
The
an
only reason,
accident
no, the
or
only reason I think that happened, honestly, it didn't have anything to do with the movie. I was like, oh, they wanted to make another action figure, like a variant mask, so they can make more money.
NECA was
That's
just
what I
like,
thought.
yeah, exactly. There you go.
It's like Michael Myers with the blood tears, but that's actually fucking awesome. But yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that makes sense. All right. Well, I think that we've exhausted all of the
hmm
Thanksgiving as we can. So
I'm
let's get
exhausted.
to the cherry picker.
It's not like we killed people on purpose.
All righty. We need a cherry on top.
Do we?
Yeah.
Who do you want?
I mean, I would say Gina Gershon if she was actually in the movie.
I mean, she
But
is. She qualifies for the rules.
well, yeah, I know, but I mean, like, it just feels like it's almost like allowing to waste such a great talent.
Oh, I see.
It's
We
like
don't
excusing,
endorse. We
yeah,
don't endorse the use
the
of
la or
Gina
lack
Gershon in this movie,
thereof,
or
yeah.
lack thereof in this movie. Okay, I see what you.
I would say the sheriff Eric Newton.
Okay,
Is it
I'm cool with
Newton
that.
or Newland?
Newton, like a fig Newton.
A fig Newton.
Yeah, that's what he is.
No, it's Newland.
Oh, I thought it was
E
Newton. I misread it. I can't
Newlon.
read
Yeah.
anything. I need glasses.
I mean, it could be a T, but
Let me look at
it's
it again.
there's no cross.
Did I miss it? It is Newland. You're right. It's
Yeah,
Newland. Okay. It's spelled like Newton, only without a T.
with an L instead of a
With an
T.
L.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry. I'm glad I
New
called him Eric.
a new lawn.
A new
A
lawn.
new lawn.
There'll
Yeah.
be a new lawn for
Does he
Christmas.
even have a house or he's just sort of like sleeping in that shitty little
See, there's
thing that yeah.
so much they could have. Oh my God, we could have found out that he was just like this nomad, this like,
Yeah.
what if he's not, he's all, he lied. Maybe he like sheriffed in a really, really small town where it's easy to
Mhm.
become like a deputy or something like
Yeah.
that. And that's
I
the only way he got to be sheriffs in bigger cities like in Plymouth and stuff.
I
That would have
mean,
been cool.
I will say that like I like him as a cop character turned killer more than what we saw
Detective in
in
Scream 3.
no, six.
Wait, what?
Scream six with the killer.
Oh, with the
Yeah.
killer. Okay, I
Yeah.
was like,
Just like
Patrick
in terms of
Dempsey
like
wasn't in
the
Screevy.
no, 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 no. Just in terms of like killers who are like the lead investigator
Oh,
character.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see. I see what
Yeah.
you mean. I'll have to get back to you. I need to watch Screevy
Yeah.
again.
I do
Um,
I love Dermot Mulroney and
yeah,
he's a wonderful person. Met
yeah.
him in real life. And I think that's another case where it's just like he was not directed well in that movie.
Or they just chose like the biggest take.
They
Like there
no,
were
they
probably
did
more
yeah.
subtle takes
I
that he
mean
did, and they were
it's
like, okay, this time just go for broke, and then he just went for broke, and they're like,
yeah.
print. That's a print.
Who knows with that one
Who
anymore.
knows?
But no, I would say him because I think that, when y- associating John Carver to that character as well, and the little instances of like feeding the cat and just, doing all those little things and I enjoyed it. Like even though I wanted more, I think that like he's the one character I remember the most from this.
Right. I love that
Yeah.
Amethyst is saying, it's Gina Gershon, fight me. She's the Casey Becker. And I love that.
But even then, like as the Casey Becker, like to compare what she's given
Yeah.
to Drew Barrymore, come on.
Oh, no, she doesn't.
She's not even getting the Jada Pinkett.
No, they didn't
It's
give her
like
the opportunities that those
she's not
actresses
even
had
getting
to
the Kelly
showcase.
Rutherford
No,
of
she
like
really
Scream
isn't.
3. Like
That's
Kelly
true.
Rutherford got more to do in
Yeah,
Scream
like if
3 as
she,
the
oh,
side character of
well,
Buffy.
even that I would have had more respect for. Like, okay,
Yeah.
Gina Gershon's got like a schedule. She can only work for you like, over a weekend or something like that, and then she's out. So get all of her coverage, and then we'll work on everything else. That I would understand, but like make her your focal point, make her the Marion Crane of the opening
Hmm.
sequence, then kill her off, and then we experience the loss of her, so we're immediately more tied into like watching the people, because the thing, we didn't really follow the people who are grieving for her. You know what I mean? She's just kind of like brought up at the end of the movie like as an afterthought, like, and she was my motivation. But anyway,
Hmm.
Grant also said this is where Mark Kincaid ended up instead of Scream 7. It did occur to me
Yeah.
while I was watching this, like, what if this is where he went and this is who
Hmm.
he became? That would have been cool. Even that, I would have
Maybe.
appreciated
Yeah.
that because he was creepy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got our
Okay.
cherry on top.
So last week we asked you who deserves to die the most in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the
Oh,
1992 movie. I nominated Hank Summers. You nominated Lothos.
okay. Who
He wasn't
wins?
known as Hank Summers, and he's just known as Buffy's dad, but he's Hank.
On
Uh,
principle.
across Patreon, Instagram, and YouTube, the final tally was 110 for Hank Summers versus 227 for Lothos.
Oh.
I will say that the Patreon poll favored towards Hank, but everywhere else, Lothos got the axe.
Okay.
Hmm.
Since he's actually in the movie.
The Buffy's dad is in the movie.
No, he's on screen. He has
Yeah.
virtually no effect on what anything that happens
No,
in that film.
no. It's more of just it's just more of like what he represents in her
On
life
the
moving forward.
series.
Yeah.
On the series, yeah.
Yeah. I admitted like it was a sneaky nomination. Um Rowena Potter. Lothos is bad, but Buffy's parents are awful. I think Lothos could be killing Buffy right in front of them, and they would be like, "Don't let your friends get blood on the carpet while we're gone." I'm surprised Hilary Swank wasn't chosen. She was awful and totally deserved to die just for buying the leather jacket she told Buffy was so last season, but for her was
It's
retro.
retro. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, she's a despicable person, but I love watching her. I don't
agreed.
want her to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blue Box. I loved this movie as a little kid so much. I too wanted to be a hot chosen one vampire slayer cheerleader with my own bubble butt boyfriend Billy. I mean Pike. I've reached none of those goals. As for this poll, sure, Lothos is a lame villain, but I kind of feel bad that he was so easy to defeat. My vote goes to Hank Summers, lame a-hole. I'm surprised neither of you picked Kimberly, Hillary Swank. What a bunt. It's like people really
Oh
wanted
my God.
Hillary's Kimberly. Yeah.
Wow.
Van Days. Wait, I'm still stuck on the fact that Zach hasn't seen all of Clueless. It's one of the best of all time, especially for the gays like myself.
Mm.
Gays, not Gaze. Also, does Eddie leaving mean no more cherry picker, or are you going to find another co-host slash guest for the pod? Makes me kind of sad to think it would end. Look what you've done,
What'd I
Edward. Look
do?
what you did to it. Uh,
The new
I,
co-host is out there.
out there. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, stay
Yeah.
tuned.
Stay tuned. We still got you for another
Month
five
and a
episodes.
month and a
Yeah.
day. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Grant Dempsey. Thanks, Hank. We're on top of it. A vote for Hank. Do you know what that's from?
Isn't that is it Office Space?
It's from Scream when
Oh,
Sheriff
that's
Burke
no,
is
that's
because
right. That's right.
Billy's dad, Hank Loomis, because he's like, "Did you check the phone records?" Like, blah, blah, blah. Thanks, Hank. We're on top of that.
See, that's why I need to leave.
Right.
You got the reference, so you get the gold prize.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've also seen Scream how many times
No,
now?
I've seen it a bunch of times too, but I need to watch it. I need to have a Scream fest sometime soon. Probably do it before
Yeah.
Scream 7. Yeah.
Screw seven Evan.
Scream 7.
Screw
It's the 7 ream.
seven
The
Evans.
7 ream. What
Yeah.
is it? Have we seen what it looks like? Are they doing a
I think they're
Screevy
just doing like a
or
Scream 2 thing where it's like Scream and then seven behind it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Maybe or to this. I
Interesting.
should I should know this by now, but I
I
don't.
think it should be Screevy.
Silent Saturn going full Minority Report on Hank Summers here and punishing him for crimes he has yet to commit. Worst father ever. Okay, vocal minority, but
Mhm.
not a very big one. So you get first dibs here.
Oh, shit.
I don't even
Well,
know. I'm gonna make it up on the
I'm sad I didn't make a shout out for this guy because I actually thought he was kind of funny and we didn't mention him once, but I think it's this guy, Mika Amundsen, who played Lonnie. Is he the guy who read his paper and moved himself about the injustice and everything about not celebrating this holiday and then pulled his shirt up to reveal his abs and wipe his tears away while the two girls on either side of him were going like, "Oh," or whatever?
Hey
He was funny.
Lonnie, hey Lonnie.
Hey, Lonnie, get your shirt up on your face. But anyway, no,
I don't get,
he.
yeah.
I think he should be an honorable mention for Cherry on Top because he was one of the most entertaining characters on screen, and he didn't even do that much. And I like his abs. But I'm looking right alongside him. I don't know, because I mean, there's a lot of really unlikable people who I just don't care about, but there's one in particular who, for reasons I've already stated, which I'll reiterate here, Bobby. I'm going to choose Bobby because I think he deserved to die because number one, he just like kind of disappeared and ghosted her and didn't tell her where he was, and then he decided to just show up back in Jess's life like nothing happened and said all the quote unquote like right things in terms of like an apology, like, oh, I'm so stupid, I never should have done this, like I should have just stayed away from you, I just feel like I'm wrecking everything. It's like, well, you are. But the problem was she didn't even have an emotional reaction to it. She was like, you ghosted me, I feel so terrible. It's like, what? So it doesn't make any sense. But
Yeah.
so he didn't properly atone for just like falling off the face of the earth after what went down went down. And then the fact that he's there's nothing beneficial to Jess in choosing Bobby over Ryan. Either way, she's just going to be around more toxic masculinity. I'd argue that they're both kind of like on par with each other with the toxicity and with just the unrelenting disgust that I feel in response to both of them. But the thing is that Bobby, I believe, is served as kind of like the one we're supposed to root for, the underdog, and I don't. And I don't like him saving her or aiding her like in the end and telling her to go this way, turn left, turn right. And it's like, bitch, she knows where to run. So fuck that bitch. He should have died. It would have just made me, it would have ingratiated Jess to me more so, or me more to Jess. I don't know how that works, but I would have found her more ingratiating as a character if she would have suffered more loss. And and he just there's no reason to keep him around. And if he comes back for the next movie, it's just going to be more of nothing, just more blah. So kill him. How about you, Zach?
Uh, Lonnie was actually the dude who got his neck twisted. So like the guy who incited the riot in the
Oh,
opening.
so who's the guy who showed his abs?
I have no idea, just classroom dude. Maybe he has a name, but um, I might have actually chosen Lonnie, but with you picking Bobby, I really don't care one way or the other, but I think it might actually be an interesting social experiment to
Ooh.
pick Ryan and just see what what people think or if they care.
Okay.
Because I don't. I'm so my nomination is for Ryan. Just because I'm curious to see where this goes. I mean he kind of sucks too, in a lot of ways.
He wears a gold chain. I do not like gold jewelry on
I
men.
mean, well, he's an NPC, as Evan had pointed out. But yeah, there's just something about his energy, like when he's alone, because we see him alone a lot, and just sort of like the menacing and the jealousy and all that stuff. And it just feels like his whole demeanor, like when he's like in his dorm room, I guess. Like also like who are these guys? I mean, I guess like she's a senior and these
Hmm.
guys are like have been in college for a couple of years, but like why are they interested in her? That's a why is she into them and why are they into her? Because all these people are boring in my opinion. But he's in his dorm and he's just talking. He's like, I finally got in with this crowd. It's just like, why do you care? These are high school students. Like, just this is it feels so unimportant in the grand scheme of things. Like, but I guess he's
Mm.
really into her. So yeah, you could go either way. I don't care,
I
but
do find him more aesthetically
aesthetically
pleasant.
pleasant.
Aesthetically pleasant than
Yeah.
Bobby. Your actor's name is Milo Manheim. I think he's kind of
Mhm.
dreamy. And Bob, it's not that Bobby's not dreamy, but I'm more irritated by him because we're pressured to root for him. Ugh.
I just have no opinion on either one of them. aesthetically.
Vote for passion.
Yeah. But but yeah, there you go. So you can vote your heart, vote your conscience, and
Yeah.
polls are open. First and foremost, you can head over to Patreon, and even if you are supporting for free, if you're a free subscriber on there, the that is an extra poll vote that you can throw your hat in the ring. But while you're there, we ask that you consider subscribing. You can also vote on Instagram at the Cherry Picker Pod, so follow us there, and on YouTube. And if you're listening to this, make sure you go over and subscribe. And if you are watching on YouTube, the RSS feed link is in the descriptions down below, so you can listen to this instead if that is your pleasure. Edward, where can they patronize you?
If it pleases you, if it will give you pleasure, you can follow me. Why I'm German all of a
You should
sudden?
be
I don't
Russian.
know. No, because Russians don't
Please,
care about any shit that
they don't
pleases
care
you.
about what pleases
If
you.
it pleases you, follow me on Instagram or Letterboxd, where I voice many movie opinions. Haven't done it in a minute though, so sorry. I'll be back. It's just life is cray. Also, you can go watch my old YouTube videos. Edward is
Yeah.
Truth, one word, traditional spelling. Type it in the search box of any of those, and you'll find me. Those are the only places I am. So if you're on TikTok or
TikTok.
Snapchat and you see an Edward is Truth, it's not me. How about you, Zach?
Snapchat. You
Snapchat.
can find me on my main YouTube channel, Zach Cherry, Zack space Cherry. Instagram and Letterboxd are both retro bitch face, all one word, and Twitter is Zach Cherry 8. We know what's going on next week. Probably,
Presumably.
presumably. So get ready for the top 10. I guess really the two top 10
Yeah, top
best.
20.
Look, not even
It's my top 10, Zach's top 10.
our
Yes.
favorite 10
God,
horror pictures of the
Harris.
21st century.
That is insane.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
favorites are
know.
hard for me anyway.
You're better. You're like me. You're better with the least favorites. Like, what do you hate the most? That's what it should have been. Like, what are the most hated
Well,
horror
because then
pictures of the?
then all you have to do is look up a list of things and scroll through them, and the things that make you go, oh, the most, just tally them up and then just narrow it down. That's really easy. But the things that make me go,
Mm,
oh, favorite. I got to think about what that means and meditate on it. But anyway,
all
that's
right.
probably going to be it. But yeah, confirm with me soon, Zach, to let me know.
Yeah, yeah. Just
Okay.
unless I say otherwise, that's what's going on.
Okay, I
And
have to
that goes
prep.
for all of you as well. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we will be right back.